Hey there. I know why you're here. You're looking for a story that will help you drift off into a peaceful sleep. Something calming, a little mysterious. Something that carries your mind away. Well, you've come to the right place. Before we begin tonight's journey, do me a little favor. Tap the like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below. Even just a good night. It really helps more sleepy souls like you find their way here. Now, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let's begin tonight's story. Thank you for watching this powerful story of redemption, consequences, and the quiet strength that comes from true transformation. If you found yourself moved by this emotional journey, there's so much more ahead. We're just getting started. This is only one chapter in a world full of cautionary tales, life lessons, and raw human stories that reflect the truth behind our choices. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next deep, dramatic, and soul-stirring documentary. We dive deep into stories that make you feel, think, and sometimes even change. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and stay watching. He used to slam the door every morning like it owed him something, always in a rush, always half a step ahead of whatever trouble was waiting at school, on the streets, or inside his own head. The world didn't slow down for him, and he never slowed down for anyone, not even for his father. They barely spoke anymore. Conversations had turned into arguments. Arguments had turned into silence, and silence that had become their language. His father was tired, not the kind of tired that sleep fixes, the kind that comes from carrying too much for too long. Bills were late, his back hurt, and his heart, though he never said it, was broken in quiet, invisible places. Every morning, he watched his son walk out like a stranger, and every evening, he waited for the sound of the front door to open again. Most nights, it did. Some nights, it didn't. But his heart never rested either way. Then came the call. It was a Thursday, cold, cloudy, forgettable in every other way, except for the ring that broke the stillness. The father picked up, expecting another bill collector, but the voice on the other end was softer, older. Mr. Evans, it's Sharon from Meadow Pines. Your mother's been asking for you, and your son. She's not well. He closed his eyes. Meadow Pines. It had been almost a year since he'd last gone. He knew he should have visited more, but there was always work, always a crisis, always something. I understand, he replied quietly. I'll come. There was a pause on the line. She's been waiting. Maybe bring your son? She talks about him every day. He looked toward the hallway. His son's door was shut, headphones likely on. World shut out. I'll try, he said. But even he didn't believe it. Later that evening, over microwaved leftovers and another tense silence, he tried. Your grandmother asked about you again today. No reply. She's not doing too well. We should go see her this weekend. The teenager barely looked up. I've got stuff. She misses you. She always says that. There was a sharpness in the boy's voice. A blade built from misunderstanding, distance, and pride. You haven't seen her in 2 years, the father said, more exhausted than angry. You were her world. I didn't ask to be, the boy muttered, pushing his plate away. And just like that, the moment dissolved. The father said nothing, just picked up the plate and walked to the sink. That night, the boy went back to his world of music and messages, and the father sat alone on the couch, holding his phone, wondering when exactly he lost his son. The next morning came, like they always do, with noise and routine and avoidance. The boy left without saying goodbye. The father stared at the now empty hallway and whispered to no one, "She's not going to wait forever." That Saturday, the father drove alone. The roads were quiet. Trees blurred past, bare and brittle like the spaces between family. He brought sunflowers, her favorite, and he brought a picture of his son, printed from an old Facebook post. She was sitting by the window when he arrived. Her skin was pale, but her eyes, those warm, watery eyes, lit up the moment he stepped through the door. "Did he come with you?" she asked, her voice fragile. He hesitated. He wanted to. He lied. "But he's got exams. He sends his love." She smiled, believed it. Or maybe she just wanted to. She held the photo to her chest, like it was a letter from heaven. "He used to call me every night," she said softly. The father nodded, swallowing guilt. "He still loves you, Mom." "I know," she whispered, "but I miss the sound of his voice." She reached for his hand, her fingers thin and cold. The kind of cold that doesn't come from weather. "I won't be here forever," she said. "Don't talk like that." "It's all right. I'm tired. I want to see him before I go." The father promised again. Soon, but promises don't bend time, and time doesn't wait for promises. The boy never asked how the visit went, and the father didn't bring it up. He wanted to, but parenting a teenager sometimes feels like navigating a battlefield blindfolded. One wrong step, and the whole thing explodes. Days passed, weeks. Another call came. "She's eating less," the nurse said. "Spending more time asleep. You might want to bring your son sooner rather than later." He tried again. "She's asking for you. I've got school. She might not have much time left." The boy shrugged. "She's old. She'll be fine." And that was it. Just 3 words. "She'll be fine." The father nodded, not because he believed it, but because he didn't know what else to do. That weekend, he visited alone again. This time she didn't smile. This time she didn't ask if the boy had come. She already knew the answer. The days blurred together, and silence wrapped around their home like fog. The boy lived behind his door, behind his music, behind his pride. He thought he knew pain. He thought he understood the world. But youth is loud, and ignorance is louder. And the father? He just kept going. One foot in front of the other. Bills to pay. A job that barely paid enough. And a heart that ached in ways he couldn't explain. Every now and then, he'd stop by her room in the nursing home, bringing flowers she couldn't smell, reading to her when she was too tired to respond, and pretending that it made a difference. He told her stories, stories about her grandson, stories he made up, about how well he was doing, how he was growing, changing, working hard. She'd smile weakly, and that smile, that quiet, grateful smile, gave the father just enough strength to carry the lie. Back at home, the boy didn't ask about her, and when the father brought it up, the wall went up even faster. "She's your mother," the boy snapped once. "Why should I have to visit her like it's a chore?" The father looked at him, weary. "She held you before I ever did. She gave you her time, her stories, her love. You were the light in her life." The boy rolled his eyes. "Yeah, well, people change." The father wanted to say more, wanted to grab him by the shoulders and shake the truth into him. But he didn't. He just turned away. Sometimes silence says more than words ever could. One night, the father came home from work late. The house was dark, except for the blue glow under his son's bedroom door. The usual flickers of video games or music. He stood outside the door for a while, hand half raised to knock. But what could he even say? He turned and walked to the kitchen, made himself a cup of tea he wouldn't drink, sat at the table and stared at the quiet around him. That's when the phone rang again. He already knew. He didn't pick up right away, just stared at the screen as it lit up with her name. The nurse, not his mother. When he answered, the voice on the other end didn't have to say much. She was slipping away. They didn't know if she had hours or days, but she'd stopped speaking, stopped asking. She's just staring out the window now, the nurse said quietly, and she hasn't touched food in almost 3 days. The father said nothing. I just thought you'd want to know, the nurse added. Maybe one last time. After the call, he walked to his son's door. He didn't knock, just stood there. Then finally, he spoke through the wood. She might not make it through the weekend. A pause. She's been holding on, for you. Inside, the boy didn't respond, just stared at his screen. The words landed somewhere, but not deep enough. Eventually, the father walked away. Saturday morning came with rain. The sky was grey, the kind of grey that makes everything feel heavier than it is. The father left early, alone, again. The boy stayed in bed, scrolling through his phone, liking pictures, watching videos, texting people he barely knew. He saw a notification from the family chat, an old photo of him and his grandmother baking cookies when he was 6. He ignored it. He didn't know that across town, her breaths had grown shallow, that the nurses had dimmed the lights, that her room was filled with the quiet hum of machines and whispered prayers. When the father arrived, he knew. She wasn't asleep. She wasn't waiting anymore. She was gone. There was no dramatic scene, no last-minute race through the hallway, no bedside goodbyes, just stillness. He sat with her for a while, held her hand. She was cold, not the cold of winter, but the cold of absence, of finality. The nurse handed him a box, small, worn. She wanted him to have this, she said. He nodded, not trusting himself to speak. Back home, the boy was still in his room when the front door opened, still pretending everything was normal, still unaware that everything had changed. The father didn't say a word, just placed the box on the kitchen table and sat in the dark. Later that night, something shifted. Maybe it was the quiet, maybe it was guilt, or maybe it was just time. The boy came out of his room. The light from the hallway spilled into the kitchen like a spotlight. He saw his father sitting there, staring at the box. Is she? The father didn't look up. She's gone. The boy didn't speak. He sat down, looked at the box. What is that? She left it for you. He opened it slowly. Inside were letters, dozens of them, all handwritten, some old, some recent. Each one started with his name. Each one ended with love. He pulled one out and read it aloud, barely above a whisper. I miss your laugh. I hope you're doing well in school. I pray for you every night. I hope one day you'll come visit me again. I'll make cookies like we used to. Love always, Grandma. His hands trembled. Another letter, and another. Each one was a reminder of a love he had forgotten, a voice he had ignored, a heart that had waited until it couldn't anymore. He looked up at his father. She was really gone before I even said goodbye. The father nodded, eyes heavy. She waited, every day, just hoping. The boy clenched his jaw. I didn't know it was that bad. The father whispered, I tried to tell you. He stayed up late that night. The house was quiet, and for once he didn't have his headphones on. No music, no distractions, just the box and what was left of her. The letters were all different. Some were written in neat cursive, full of old-fashioned phrases and blessings. Others were rushed, words crossing lines, sentences unfinished, like she was racing her own memory to get the thoughts out. Each letter held a memory. The way he used to climb onto her lap, the way she would hum to him while folding laundry, the time he scraped his knee, and she kissed it like that could fix anything. He had forgotten those things, but she hadn't. In one letter, dated 2 Christmases ago, she wrote, "You didn't come this year. I waited by the door for hours. I understand. You're growing up. You have your own life. But if you ever wonder if I'm thinking of you, I am. Always. I made your favorite gingerbread, just in case." His eyes filled, but he didn't cry. Not yet. Instead, he read another. "I saw a picture of you on Facebook. You look so tall now, so grown. I showed the nurses. I told them you were mine. They smiled, but they didn't understand. They don't know what it's like to hold someone's whole heart in your arms and then only see them through a screen." That one made him pause. He stared at the handwriting. Fading ink, slight tremble in the letters. That was her voice on paper. That was love. Stubborn, patient, and unconditional. He ran his finger across the signature. "With all my heart, Grandma." He didn't notice when the tears came. They didn't fall like rain. They welled slowly, quietly, until the letter blurred in his hands. He whispered to the empty room, "I'm sorry, but the walls didn't answer, and neither did time." In the days that followed, something changed. The boy was quieter, not out of guilt alone, but reflection. He started coming to the kitchen more, sitting with his father, even if they didn't speak much. The phone stayed down longer. The music turned off earlier. He began to notice things he hadn't seen before, like how tired his father looked in the mornings, how he rubbed his hands like they hurt, how he stared out the window when he thought no one was watching. One evening, the boy sat beside him and said softly, "I think I messed up." The father looked at him, surprised. The boy continued, "I thought I had time. I thought she'd always be there." The father didn't scold, didn't say, "I told you so." He just said, "We all think that." There was a silence between them. Not cold, not tense, just honest. And then the boy asked, "Can I go with you to see her? I mean, where she is now?" The father nodded. That Sunday, they drove together. It was the first time in years they'd shared a drive without an argument. No radio, just the rhythm of the road. Trees passing by, like old memories, just out of reach. At the cemetery, they walked slowly. The father carried flowers. The son carried the box of letters. They stopped at the small headstone. Simple, graceful. Her name, her dates, and one line beneath it. She loved quietly, but completely. The boy knelt and placed the letters beside the stone. "She waited for me," he whispered. The father nodded. "She always believed you'd come." The boy placed his hand on the cold marble. "I should have called. I should have visited. I was so busy thinking about myself." The wind rustled the trees above them. He looked up. She deserved better. She didn't want better, the father said. She wanted you, even just 5 minutes, would have made her whole year. The boy closed his eyes. "I never even said goodbye." The father put a hand on his shoulder. "She knew you loved her, even when you didn't show it." That night, back home, the boy sat at the kitchen table again. Same table, different heart. He pulled out a notebook, and he began to write. Not a text, not a post. A letter to her. "Dear Grandma, I don't know if you can see this, but I'm going to write anyway, just in case you can." He wrote about the guilt, the memories, The things he never said, the cookies he never thanked her for, the stories he only half listened to. He wrote until the words turned into tears again. I didn't visit. I didn't call. I thought I had more time. But I want you to know, I remember, I love you, and I'm sorry I didn't come back sooner. He folded the letter, walked outside, and tucked it gently into the wooden frame of the backyard fence. The wind picked up. He whispered, please find it. Sometimes, the hardest lessons don't come with warnings. They come with loss, with absence, with echoes, and in the quiet that follows, we learn to listen, really listen. He never got to say goodbye, but from that day forward, he never took family for granted again. He called his father more, sat with him longer, asked questions instead of rolling his eyes. He laughed more, hugged longer, and every month, like clockwork, they drove back to her, brought flowers, read her letters, and the boy, not a boy anymore, learned that love isn't about grand gestures or perfect timing. It's about showing up before it's too late. Time moved forward, not fast, but faithfully. Seasons changed. The cold of loss gave way to the warmth of remembering, and the boy changed too. He started to show up for people, for family, not out of guilt anymore, but gratitude for what he still had. For what he almost lost completely. Every Sunday afternoon became their tradition. He and his father, side by side, visiting her resting place. They brought her fresh flowers, read old letters aloud, and sometimes just sat in silence, letting the wind do the talking. The boy, now growing into a young man, began asking his father questions he never cared to ask before. What was she like when you were my age? The father would smile quietly, stubborn, sweet, stronger than she looked. And then he'd pause before saying, a lot like you. They'd laugh, sometimes, cry, sometimes. But they always went back, because grief is love's echo, and some echoes are worth returning to. One day, a few months after she passed, they returned to the nursing home, not for her, but for the things left behind. The head nurse greeted them kindly. She remembered them both. She used to talk about you every day, she told the boy. Said you'd come around when you were ready. The boy swallowed hard. She was right. They entered her old room. Nothing had changed. The same window, the same chair. The chair where she waited for him every Sunday, every birthday, every ordinary day. She'd sit there, watching the parking lot, a tiny figure barely visible from the outside, but she watched, hopeful. The boy stepped toward it, ran his hand along the warm fabric, sat down slowly. From that angle, he could see what she saw, a narrow driveway, a row of trees, and the quiet swing of the front gate. He imagined her there, week after week, hoping that today would be the day he'd show up. She never stopped hoping, even when he stopped believing. He turned to the nurse. Did she ever talk about the letters? The nurse nodded. Every time she finished one, she'd hold it close, like she was handing a part of her soul into the future. She said, he'll read them. Maybe not now, but one day, the boy's eyes misted. I wish I had known how much they meant. She didn't write them for what they meant to her, the nurse said gently. She wrote them for what they would mean to you. That truth struck deep. She wasn't waiting for recognition, or praise, or apologies. She was leaving pieces of herself behind, so he'd have something to come back to. Not just a memory, but her heart, in ink and paper. When they left the room that day, the boy turned back one last time. He looked at the chair by the window, and he whispered, thank you for waiting. They didn't take anything from the room. No furniture, no trinkets, just a small worn photograph. the nurse found tucked in a drawer. It was him, at age 5, in her lap, covered in flour and cookie crumbs, both of them laughing like time didn't matter. He held that photo like a key to a place he once forgot. A place called home. Weeks passed, then months. But the boy didn't retreat into his shell again. Instead, he started writing his own letters, not to the past, but to the people still here. He wrote to his father. He wrote to his aunt, who lived 3 states away. He wrote to his little cousin on her birthday. He even wrote a thank you letter to the nurse at the home. Because he had learned, sometimes the simplest words are the ones that matter most. Sometimes I'm sorry, I miss you, and I love you. Don't need explanations. They just need to be said, while there's still time. He would never forget the pain of missing that final goodbye. But instead of letting it break him, he let it shape him. He started helping his father more. Not just chores, but conversations. They'd sit at the table together at night, talking about life, about the world, about the things they wished they could ask her. And for the first time in a long time, they were no longer strangers. Because sometimes, grief builds bridges where pride once built walls. And when love is real, it finds its way back, even through silence, even through years. Years later, the boy, now a man, still visits that grave, still reads the letters, still remembers the chair by the window. And now, whenever someone tells him they're too busy to call their parents, or visit a grandparent, or forgive someone they still love, he says softly, I thought I was too busy, too. And then he tells them the truth. That time is never promised. That the people we love won't always be there, waiting in some window. And that regret is a quiet ache that doesn't go away with time, only with change. He tells them about her, not just how she died, but how she lived, and how her love, silent, patient, unconditional, taught him the most powerful lesson of his life. That family is not about perfection. It's about presence, not about grand gestures, but small, faithful ones, like showing up, listening, writing a letter, making time. Because one day, the door we keep meaning to knock on will never open again, and all we'll be left with is the silence we helped create. So if you're hearing this tonight, and someone is waiting to hear from you, don't wait until it's too late. Because love doesn't wait forever. But if you're lucky, it will leave you letters. They say time heals everything. But some days, time just teaches you how to live with what hurts. He didn't talk much about her anymore. Not because he forgot, he never could. But because some memories settled quietly into the soul, too sacred to repeat. It had been a year since her funeral, a year since the letters, a year since he sat by her grave with his father, holding words he wished he'd said when it mattered. He still kept the photo. It lived in his wallet now, folded carefully behind his ID and a worn receipt. Every so often he'd take it out and just look. She was smiling in it. He wasn't. He was laughing. That was the difference. That's what she always wanted, to see him laugh. But he hadn't laughed like that in a while. Not since the call that never came. The day before her birthday, he sat on his bed, holding his phone. The screen was lit up with distractions, notifications, updates, meaningless messages. But none from her. That used to be the day she'd call. Every year, without fail, she'd sing, off-key, half-laughing through the verses, making up words when she forgot them. Happy birthday to me, she used to joke, because it's the day I became a grandma. He never answered with the same excitement. Sometimes he let it ring. Sometimes he texted back hours later with a simple thanks. He never realized how loud the silence would be once the calls stopped. Now every birthday felt like an echo, a soft emptiness that clung to him like fog. He tried to shake it, he really did, but it followed him. In the hallways of school, in the seat beside him on the bus, in the way his father looked at him across the dinner table, wanting to say something, not knowing how. He started skipping meals again, staying in his room longer, telling himself he was just tired. But it wasn't exhaustion. It was regret, the kind that sits in your chest and doesn't move. One night, he overheard his father on the phone, soft voice, quiet, like he didn't want him to hear. No, he doesn't talk about her much. Yeah, I think it still hurts. He doesn't say it, but I see it. There was a pause. Sometimes, I wonder if he blames himself. Another pause. I just wish he knew she forgave him, long before he ever asked. He didn't mean to listen, but those words stayed with him. She had forgiven him, even when he hadn't forgiven himself. It made him think about other things. Other people. His mother had left when he was 9, walked out during an argument, said she needed space, needed time. She never came back. He didn't know where she lived now, didn't even know if she thought about him. His father never talked about her, and he never asked. But lately, the silence around her started to feel like the same silence he once gave his grandmother. He told himself he didn't care, but it wasn't true. He did care. He cared enough to wonder what it would feel like to hear her voice again. Not for closure, not even for answers, just to say, I'm still here. But pride is a quiet poison. It tells you it's better not to try than to risk being ignored. So he did nothing until the day the letter came. Not a text, not an email, a letter. It came on a Wednesday afternoon, stuck between a bill and a coupon flyer. He almost threw it away, but then he saw the name in the corner. His mother. He stared at the envelope for what felt like hours. Hands trembling, heart racing. Inside, the letter was short. Only a few lines. I don't know if this will reach you. I'm not even sure you'll read it, but I think about you every day. I'm sorry for the time I missed. I hope one day you'll let me try again. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. Enough to break something open inside him that had been shut for too long. He didn't cry right away. He just sat there, letter in one hand, phone in the other. And for the first time, he wondered, what if she was waiting too? Just like Grandma had waited. What if she sat by her phone, hoping he'd call? What if this time, he didn't wait too long? He looked at his father across the table. Did you know she wrote me? His father looked up, surprised. No. When? Today. What did it say? He handed him the paper. His father read it slowly, carefully. When he finished, he set it down and said, "It takes courage to ask for another chance. I don't know if I want to give her one," he admitted. His father nodded. "You don't have to decide today." He leaned forward. "But let me tell you something." The boy looked up. "I used to be angry at her too, for leaving, for not writing, for disappearing when we needed her most." There was a long silence, but holding on to that, it only made me bitter. It didn't make me better. He paused. "Losing Mum taught me that some goodbyes are permanent, but some aren't. And if there's even a chance that one goodbye doesn't have to last forever." He gestured toward the letter. "Maybe it's worth opening the door, just a little." That night, the boy sat at his desk, letter in front of him, blank paper beside it. He picked up a pen. He didn't know what to say, didn't know how to start. But he began anyway. "I got your letter. I didn't expect it. Part of me still doesn't know what to feel. But I'm writing this because I don't want to carry silence anymore. Not after what I learned from Grandma. He paused, then kept going. If you want to talk, I'm here. I'm not ready to forget everything, but I'm willing to listen. That's a start. He didn't expect a reply. Not right away. The day he dropped the letter into the mailbox, his heart pounded like it was trying to escape his chest, as if even the act of hoping had become dangerous, vulnerable. He had written the words carefully, not to impress her, not to punish her, but to speak honestly for once without pretending he didn't care. He did care. He just didn't know how to say it without sounding like he needed her. So he said it, the only way he could, with space between the lines, with pauses where pain had lived too long. A week passed, then two. No reply. He tried not to check the mailbox every day, but he did, even when he told himself he wouldn't. Each time it was empty. A small part of him felt foolish, like he'd opened something that should have stayed closed. His father noticed. "You expecting something?" he asked one afternoon. "Not really," he lied. His father didn't push, but that night he left something on his son's desk before going to bed. An envelope, old, faded. The boy stared at it for a long time before opening it. Inside was a photo. His mother, younger, smiling, holding him as a baby, her face pressed to his cheek like she couldn't believe he was real. There was a note on the back. "No matter what happens, you'll always be the best thing I ever did right." His father didn't say anything the next morning, didn't explain why he gave it. He didn't need to. The message was clear. She had loved him once, deeply, and maybe she still did. Another week passed, then one Thursday afternoon, an envelope appeared. Different handwriting, familiar enough to make his chest tighten. He opened it slowly, fingers trembling. "I didn't think you'd write back. I thought I'd ruined any chance we had left. Reading your letter, I cried. Not because it fixed everything, but because it meant you still see me, even if only through the fog." She continued. "I'm not here to make excuses. I won't pretend I didn't fail you. I did. I left when I should have stayed. I ran from things I didn't know how to face. But I never stopped loving you. I just stopped believing I deserved to." He read the letter 3 times before putting it down. He didn't cry, not yet. Instead, he sat on his bed, staring at the wall, wondering how someone could be so far from you and still know the exact words that open old doors. That night, he didn't write back. Not because he didn't want to, but because something deeper stirred in him, a need to understand why people leave, and whether they always regret it. At school, his mind drifted. He watched a girl in his class hug her mom at pickup, watched another whisper on the phone during lunch, smiling as she said, "Love you too." He realized how long it had been since he said that without hesitation, since he said it, without wondering if the other person would say it back. Later, in the kitchen, he asked his father the question he had always been afraid to ask. Why did she leave? His father exhaled. Not frustrated, just tired from holding the weight too long. She was hurting. She didn't know how to ask for help. From what? From everything. Motherhood, marriage, her past. The boy frowned. "You mean it wasn't me?" His father turned sharply. "No, never you." He paused. "She loved you, fiercely. But sometimes love isn't enough when someone doesn't know how to stay." There was silence between them. A thick silence, the kind that meant something had shifted. The boy looked down. "Do you hate her?" His father looked away. "I used to," he admitted. "But hate is heavy, and I already had enough to carry." He turned back to his son. "You don't have to forgive her now, but don't carry what isn't yours." The boy nodded. That night, He wrote again. This time the words came easier. I don't remember everything. A lot of it's blurry. But I do remember the day you left. I remember the slam of the door, Dad's silence, the way the walls felt colder that night. But I also remember your singing, that song about stars. He paused, then continued. I don't know if we can go back to what we had. I don't think I even know what that was. But maybe we can start something new. He folded the letter, addressed it. This time he didn't feel afraid when he let it go. He felt ready. Weeks turned into routine. Letters, every so often. Nothing dramatic. No big declarations. Just slow, steady exchanges. Pieces of truth, confessions, memories. She told him about the job she lost, the apartment she lived in now, the dog she rescued. He told her about school, about his best friend moving away, about the old photo Dad had kept. They didn't pretend, they didn't lie. They just told the truth in small portions, the way you do when you're learning to speak a language you once forgot. One day she asked if she could call. He stared at the message for a long time, then typed, maybe soon, not yet. She didn't push, didn't beg. She just replied, whenever you're ready. That reply meant more than any phone call could have. Because she understood. She was finally waiting, not running, and for the first time since he was 9, he felt like he had a choice in how this story unfolded. The next morning, he walked past the kitchen where his father was reading the paper. Hey, he said, pausing. His father looked up. Yeah? Thanks? For what? For not making me choose sides. His father smiled. It was never about sides. He nodded. I know, I just wanted you to hear it. Then he turned, walked out the door, and for the first time in years, the sun felt warm on his skin. 3 months, that's how long it took before he finally typed the words, "You can call me tonight, if you want." It was a short message. Simple, but his hands shook the moment he hit send. He sat on his bed, afterwards staring at the wall, phone face down beside him, pretending not to care, while his heart thudded against his ribs like it was trying to outrun him. Minutes passed, then more. He almost picked up the phone and took it back, almost typed, "Never mind, I'm not ready." But then the screen lit up. Unknown number. He didn't answer right away. He let it ring. Once, twice, 3 times. Then he pressed it to his ear. "Hello?" There was silence, then a breath, then her voice, quiet, cautious, almost too soft to recognize. Hey, he didn't speak. Not right away. He had imagined this moment 1,000 different ways. He thought he'd be angry. He thought he'd cry. He thought he'd hang up. But none of those things happened. He just closed his eyes and whispered, "Hi." It wasn't a reunion. It wasn't an apology session. It wasn't anything grand. But it was real. And that was enough. They talked for 5 minutes. About nothing, mostly. The weather, school, her job at the bookstore. She asked if he still played guitar. He lied and said yes. She didn't press. She just said, "I always loved listening to you play." Before hanging up, she said something that stayed with him. "I'm not expecting anything. I just wanted to hear your voice again." He didn't know how to respond, so he just said, "Okay," and the call ended. He sat there for a long time. After, phone still in his hand, head bowed, breathing steady. He didn't cry, but something inside him softened. He hadn't realized how long he'd been clenching everything, his jaw, his fists, his heart, until her voice loosened something he'd buried deep. She didn't try to explain why she left. She didn't beg for understanding. She just showed up, and that, he realized, meant more than any explanation ever could. In the weeks that followed, they spoke more, not often, and not always about the past. But there was something new in the way he listened now, something gentler. She told him about the nights she couldn't sleep, wondering if he hated her. He told her about the dreams where he forgot her face. They didn't fix anything in those talks, but they started to build something honest. One Sunday evening, she asked him a question that caught him off guard. Do you ever think about her? He didn't need her to say who. Every day, he said. There was a pause. I still talk to her sometimes, his mother said, out loud, like she can hear me. He smiled faintly. I do that too. Do you think she'd be proud of us? Then said, yeah, I think she'd be happy we're trying. His mother laughed softly. She always believed in second chances, even when no one else did. They both fell quiet, and in that silence, he realized something. She wasn't the same woman who left, and he wasn't the same boy who watched her go. They had both changed. Life had changed them, and maybe that was the point. To come back when it's harder, to try again when it hurts more. One afternoon, while helping his father clean out the attic, he found a small box tied with a faded ribbon. Inside were old photos, birthday cards, and a small journal. It was his grandmother's. He opened the first page. If you're reading this, it means you finally slowed down long enough to find me here. I hope this means you're healing, or at least trying. He kept reading, entry after entry. Words written in soft cursive. Notes about her day. Thoughts about him. One entry stood out. He's getting older so fast. Sometimes he looks at me like he's already somewhere else. I just hope he knows I'm always right here. Even when I'm gone, I'll still be here. Loving him from the corners of every quiet moment. He stopped reading. His throat tightened. His eyes burned. He set the journal down and walked outside. The air was cold, sharp, but it felt honest, like it didn't want to hide anything anymore. That night, he called his mum. I found Grandma's journal. She didn't say anything at first. Then quietly, you did. Yeah. What did it say? She loved us. She let out a breath. Of course she did. No, I mean she really loved us. He paused. She forgave you, you know, a long time ago. His mother was silent. Then he heard it. A sniff, a soft one, followed by her voice cracking. I didn't deserve it. Maybe not, he said. But she gave it anyway. He waited, then said, I'm trying to do the same. There was a long pause. Then she whispered, thank you. Later that night, he sat in his room with the journal open beside him and a guitar in his lap. His fingers stumbled at first, rusty with time. But then the melody came back, soft, familiar, the song she used to hum, the one about stars. He played it all the way through, for the first time in years, and when he finished, he looked up at the ceiling and whispered, I miss you. It wasn't a performance. It wasn't a confession. It was a prayer, a thank you, a promise that he wouldn't wait until it was too late again. Not for her, not for anyone. He stood at the gate for a long time. The cemetery was quiet, except for the wind that rustled the trees and made the flowers on the graves whisper secrets. It had been years since he'd last stood here. Years of excuses, distractions, pride. Years of silence he never knew how to break. But now, with the journal in his hand and his mother's voice still echoing in his chest, he knew he couldn't wait anymore. He stepped through the gate. Each step forward felt heavy, like his shoes were weighted with all the things he never said. Rows of stone passed by, names he didn't recognize, but he imagined every one of them had someone who once waited too long, someone who wished they'd come sooner. He stopped in front of her headstone. There it was, her name, the dates, a small carving of a rose in the corner, his favorite flower, she once said, because it had thorns and still bloomed. He knelt down slowly. There were no words at first, just him and the wind. He pulled the journal from his jacket, opened it to the last page. You'll probably read this when I'm gone. And that's okay. I just want you to know that even if you didn't come to say goodbye, I already forgave you, because love is patient like that. It waits quietly in the corners. It doesn't keep score. It just hopes you find your way back. He swallowed hard, then spoke. I'm sorry I didn't come sooner. The words left his mouth like they'd been trapped for years. I thought I had more time. I thought I could just come later, when life slowed down, when it didn't hurt as much. He looked down, but life doesn't wait, and now I see that. He took a breath. I found your journal. I've read every page, every word, and I can't stop thinking about how much you gave, even when no one noticed. He touched the stone lightly. I never said thank you for the nights you stayed up with me when I was sick, for the way you made toast feel like a 5-star meal, for the stories, the lullabies, the way you said my name like it mattered. He paused, his voice cracked. And I never said goodbye. He wiped his eyes with the sleeve of his hoodie. I was angry. I thought you left like she did. But you didn't. You were always here, even when I ignored it. He pulled out a small envelope and set it at the base of the grave. Inside was a photo, the one his father gave him, of her holding him as a baby. On the back he'd written, I finally see it now. Thank you for never letting go. He sat down on the grass, cross-legged, quiet. The wind picked up again, brushing past him like a sigh. And for the first time in years, he felt her there. Not physically, but in the stillness, in the space between the trees, in the peace that settled into his chest like a warm blanket. He didn't need her to speak. He already knew what she'd say. I'm proud of you. It's okay. You're not too late. You're right on time. Back at home, his father was in the kitchen when he returned. Everything all right? He asked. The boy nodded. I went to see her. His father set down the dish he was holding. You okay? He thought for a moment. Yeah, he said. I think I am. Later that evening he got a message from his mother. I thought about her all day. He replied, I visited her. Then added, I read the whole journal. You should see it. She replied, can I? He thought about it. Then typed, yeah, maybe next time you're here. There was a long pause before she responded. I'd like that. Weeks passed. The calls with his mother became a rhythm, sometimes light, sometimes heavy, but never forced. She asked about his music again. He told her he played sometimes. Now, she smiled through the phone. I always knew you'd come back to it. He smiled, too. Guess I just needed to remember what it was for. One afternoon, he was sitting on the porch, guitar in hand, when his father stepped outside. He listened for a moment, then sat beside him. Sounds like her song. He nodded. It is. She'd be proud, his father said. Think so? His dad nodded. She always said healing takes time. Looks like you're getting there. The boy played another chord, slow, soft, like a lullaby. I just wish I hadn't waited so long. His father put a hand on his shoulder. She knew you'd come when you were ready. He looked up. How do you know that? Because that's what love does. It doesn't need perfect timing. just honesty. The boy looked down at the strings, then up at the sky. A few clouds drifted lazily overhead, sunlight pushing through them in quiet beams. He strummed the final note of the song, and for the first time in a long, long while, he felt full, not of regret, but of peace, of gratitude, of forgiveness. That night he wrote a final letter to his grandmother, not to mail, just to say the things he never could before. I'm trying to be better, to slow down, to listen more, to love without waiting for the perfect moment. You taught me that, even in silence, even after you were gone. Thank you for never leaving me, even when I left you. He folded the letter and tucked it into the journal, then placed the journal back in its box, closed the lid gently, and whispered, "Good night." He was making tea when the knock came. Not a text, not a phone call, just a knock. Soft, careful, like someone who wasn't sure they were welcome. He froze for a second. The kettle whistled behind him, but he didn't move. Then came a second knock. Still quiet, still waiting. He walked to the door, heart thudding in slow, heavy beats. When he opened it, she was standing there. His mother, a tote bag on her shoulder, a nervous smile that didn't reach her eyes, and something in her hand, a small pot of flowers. "I wasn't sure if I should come," she said. He stared at her for a moment, then stepped aside. "You came this far," he said. "Might as well come in." She nodded, eyes glossy with unspoken words. "Thank you." He closed the door behind her. The house was quiet. His father wasn't home. Off at the hardware store, or maybe helping a neighbor with their roof again. He always found ways to stay busy on Saturdays. His mother placed the flower pot on the table. "Purple violets. Grandma's favorite," he said. She nodded. I remembered. They sat across from each other, the table between them feeling bigger than it really was. He poured 2 cups of tea and slid one toward her. "Still take it with honey." She smiled faintly. "You remember that?" He didn't answer, just took a sip of his own. They drank in silence for a while, the kind that feels loud with everything left unsaid. She looked around the room. "It hasn't changed much. Dad doesn't like change." She chuckled softly. "Some things don't." Then her eyes landed on the box beside the couch, the one with the journal inside. "Is that it?" He followed her gaze, nodded. She got up slowly and knelt beside it. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened the lid and pulled the journal out like it was made of glass. She sat back down and turned the pages gently, like each one was a thread connecting her to something she thought she'd lost. "She always wrote in the mornings," she said, right after her tea. He watched her. "She wrote about you," he said. "A lot." Her eyes flicked up. "I was scared to know what she thought of me after I left." He swallowed. "She was hurt, but she never hated you." His mother stared at the page. "I hated me." Silence. Then she whispered, "I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought walking away would protect you from the mess I was becoming. You didn't protect me," he said quietly. "You just disappeared." She closed the journal. "I know." He looked at her. His voice wavered. "I needed you. Every day, every single day you weren't here. I needed you." "I know," she said again. "And I can't take that back. I live with that every day." He leaned back. "I stopped believing in people after you left." Her hands gripped the journal tighter. "I never stopped loving you," she said, "even when I didn't know how to show it." He stared at his tea. "I didn't come to her funeral. I didn't visit. I let pride win." I thought if I ignored it, the pain would go away. His mother nodded slowly. We both let time get in the way. I hated you, he said suddenly. I hated you for so long. I blamed everything on you. I know, she whispered, and I blamed myself too. His eyes burned. Because what if I had been better? What if I had said something? What if she thought I didn't care? She knew, his mother said. She always knew. He closed his eyes. I wanted her to see me grow up. I wanted her to be there when I graduated, when I turned 18, when I wrote my first song. She was, she said. She just wasn't where you could see her. He opened his eyes. She was crying now, not loudly, just the kind of crying that comes with years of quiet sorrow. I should have come back sooner, she said. I thought about it every day. I kept thinking, maybe next month, maybe next year. Then suddenly, it was too late. He watched her wipe her tears, then asked softly, why now? She looked up. You, he frowned. I saw your message, the one you sent me 3 months ago. I read it over and over, and I realized this might be the last open door I ever get. She took a shaky breath. I didn't want to miss another one. He didn't speak, just stared at her. She added, I came because I want to earn my way back. Not with excuses, just with time, with effort, with being here, when you let me. He stood up slowly and walked to the box again. He picked up the journal, turned to the last page, and read aloud. Even if you didn't come to say goodbye, I already forgave you, because love is patient like that. It waits quietly in the corners. It doesn't keep score. It just hopes you find your way back. He closed the book, sat back down, and said quietly, I think I'm ready to let go of the scorecard. She stared at him. I don't expect you to forget. I won't, he said. But I don't want to carry it anymore. Tears slipped down her cheeks again. She nodded slowly. I brought something, she said. She reached into her tote bag and pulled out an old CD. What's that? It's a recording. You, singing. Grandma recorded it on an old camcorder. I found it while packing boxes. He took it from her, turned it over in his hands. I don't even remember this. She used to play it every week. Said it reminded her that even when people go quiet, love still has a sound. He looked up, and for the first time in a long time, he saw her not as the woman who left, but as someone who came back, broken, ashamed, but present. And maybe that was enough. Maybe that was everything. He placed the CD beside the journal, then nodded toward the guitar in the corner. You want to stay for a while? She blinked. Yes, she whispered. I'd like that. He stood and picked up the guitar. She sat back, and as his fingers found the strings, something shifted in the air. The past didn't disappear. The pain didn't vanish, but something opened. A door, a space, where healing could begin, and in that space, the music began again. The gravel crunched under the tires as they pulled into the cemetery parking lot. She looked over at him, nervous. Her fingers were clenched tightly around the strap of her bag, knuckles pale. You sure about this? She asked. He nodded slowly. Yeah, she would have wanted it. They got out of the car. The wind had that quiet chill to it, the kind that made you think of unfinished stories and whispered names. He led the way down the familiar path, past the iron archway and rows of stone. The violets from his last visit had withered, but their color still lingered faintly, like her memory refusing to fade. She followed a step behind, her eyes scanning the markers with the weight of someone seeing ghosts. When they stopped in front of the grave, he felt her hesitation behind him. He knelt down, brushing a leaf off the headstone. "She used to say the cold didn't bother her," he said quietly. She liked the way the wind reminded her she was still alive. His mother smiled faintly. She always had a way of making even pain sound poetic. He stood and stepped aside. She stared at the name etched in stone. Her breath caught. "I don't know what to say." He glanced at her. "Just talk." She knelt beside the grave. "I should have come sooner." Silence. "I told myself it would be too painful, that I'd feel too guilty, that she'd be disappointed in me." Her voice broke. "But the truth is, I didn't come because I was ashamed." Her hands trembled as she reached out and touched the stone. "I left, and I never made it right. I let years go by, waiting for the courage that never came." Tears slipped down her cheeks. "I should have been here. I should have come when you were still alive. I should have brought your grandson back to you. I should have watched you hold him one more time." She swallowed hard. "I missed everything." He stepped closer, his voice soft. "She forgave you. She never stopped loving you." She nodded slowly. "I know that now, but it hurts that I didn't believe it sooner." They stood in silence for a long time, letting the wind speak for them. Eventually, she pulled a letter from her bag. "I wrote this last night. I don't know if it matters now, but I needed to say it." She laid it down at the base of the stone. "I'm sorry," she whispered again. "Thank you for raising him, for being the mother I wasn't, for loving him when I didn't know how." Then she stood, wiping her eyes. He looked at her. "You okay?" She exhaled slowly. Getting there, they walked back to the car, the silence between them no longer heavy, just quiet. On the way home, they stopped at the diner his grandmother used to take him to, the one with the red booths and the jukebox that never quite worked. He pointed to a corner table as they walked in. "That was our spot. She used to let me order pancakes for dinner." His mother smiled. "That sounds like her." They sat across from each other. The waitress, an older woman with warm eyes, came over. "Haven't seen you here in a while." He nodded. "Used to come with my grandma." Recognition lit up in her face. "Ah, sweet woman. Always wore those purple scarves, didn't she?" "Yeah. I'm sorry for your loss," she said gently. "Thanks." They ordered pancakes and tea for both, in honor of old memories, and ate slowly, conversation growing in quiet pockets. "I think she would have liked this," his mother said, glancing around. She liked anything that brought people together. They talked about little things: school, work, her new apartment, his music, her job at the bookstore. It wasn't forced, it wasn't perfect, but it was something. After they paid, they walked outside. Sun had dipped low, painting the sky in soft oranges and purples. He looked at her. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course. Why didn't you come back when she got sick?" She didn't answer right away. "I was afraid she wouldn't want to see me," she said eventually. "Afraid she'd look at me and see nothing but the daughter who ran away." She waited, he said. Every day she waited. His mother's shoulders sagged. "I know, and it kills me." He studied her face. "She would have wanted to forgive you in person. I know that now, but I think I wasn't ready to forgive myself." They stood on the sidewalk for a moment, watching the sky change. She reached into his coat pocket and pulled out something small, a folded piece of paper. She wrote this the week before she died. "I wasn't ready to read it out loud until now." He unfolded it and began, "To the ones who feel they've waited too long, Love is not a bus that leaves without you. It's a home with a light on the porch. No matter how late you come back, someone's still awake. So come back, even if you're shaking, even if you think you don't deserve to be let in. See, love doesn't need you perfect, just present. He folded it again. His mother wiped her eyes. She wrote that. He nodded. She left it between the pages of the journal. His mother stared at the fading light. I wish I could talk to her just one more time. I think you just did. See, that night, back at the house, they sat in the living room together. See, the journal lay open on the table between them. He strummed his guitar gently. She listened with her eyes closed. I remember when you were 5, she said softly. You'd play on that old toy keyboard for hours. I was terrible. You were fearless. They both smiled. He played a familiar melody, one his grandmother used to hum. See, his mother's voice joined in, quiet and unsure at first, but then stronger, warmer. They sang it together. When they finished, there was a silence that didn't feel empty, just full of memory, of forgiveness, of 1,000 things they didn't know how to say, but finally did, in music, in presence, in this shared quiet. She reached for the journal again. Would it be okay if I kept it for a while? He paused, then nodded. She would have wanted that. She clutched it to her chest, like something sacred. I'm not going to run this time. I know. She looked up at him. Do you think she forgives me? He smiled gently. She forgave you a long time ago. She stood in the doorway of his room, holding the journal in her hands. He was seated by the window, guitar resting on his lap, eyes lost somewhere in the fading light. I was reading through more pages last night, she said quietly. He glanced up. Yeah? She stepped inside, her voice a bit unsure. There was something taped to the back cover. I didn't notice it until now. She handed it to him. He turned the journal over. A small envelope was taped to the inside, sealed in faded pink wax. His grandmother's initials were pressed into the center. He stared at it. I didn't know it was there. I think she meant it for you. He gently peeled the wax open and unfolded the letter inside, then began to read it aloud. My sweet boy, if you're reading this, it means I've already left this world, and you're still finding your way in it. I hope you know I never meant to leave without a goodbye. I tried my best to stay as long as I could. Not for me, but for you. There are some things I never got to say out loud. Things I hope you carry in your heart, like you carried your music all these years. His voice cracked, but he kept reading. First, thank you for the laughter, the songs, the messes in the kitchen, and even the slammed doors. Every bit of it meant I was never alone. Second, your mother loves you. I know it's hard to see, but I see it in her silences, in the way she avoids certain songs, in how her eyes linger on your old photos, longer than she'll ever admit. She didn't leave because she stopped loving. She left because she didn't know how to keep loving without breaking. Some people run to find peace. Others run because they don't believe they deserve it. Your mother did both. But she always hoped you'd forgive her. He stopped, swallowing the lump in his throat. His mother sat beside him now, tears sliding down her cheeks in silence. Keep going, she whispered. He continued. Third, don't let grief close your heart. Let it open you. Let it soften you. Let it teach you how to hold others tighter, not push them away. You're going to have days when regret visits like a ghost. Let it in. Sit with it. But don't let it unpack. Forgive, not because they asked, but because you deserve peace. He looked at her. Her shoulders were shaking now. I'm proud of you. More than I ever said, more than I ever could. And when you sing, know that I'm listening. Always, love is not a moment. It's a thread. And even if it frays, even if it's forgotten for a time, it never snaps. So keep singing. I'm still here. Grandma, he folded the letter carefully, as if afraid it might crumble. His mother was wiping her eyes, trying to breathe through the ache. She wrote that for you, he said quietly. She shook her head. She wrote that for both of us. They sat in silence for a long time. Eventually he spoke again. Why did you never come back, even when I wrote you? Her voice was tired, not from age, but from memory. I thought you were better off without me. He looked at her. I wasn't. I know that now, she said. But for a long time, I believed I only brought pain. He said nothing for a while. Then finally, you still do. Her eyes widened, but not in the way you think, he continued. It hurts because I missed you. It hurts because I needed you. And you weren't there. It hurts because I still love you. She covered her mouth, trying to hold in a sob. I don't expect you to love me the same way. I don't know what way that is, he said, but I'm willing to figure it out. She nodded slowly, gratefully. I'd like that. Later that evening, he sat at the kitchen table with his laptop open. She stood behind him, watching over his shoulder. He clicked play on the camcorder file she'd brought. Days ago, the one with the scratchy audio and dim lighting. And there it was, a much younger him, maybe 6 years old, singing a made-up song about the stars and cookies. His grandmother clapping out of tune, laughing too loud. She covered her mouth again, this time in awe. I forgot how small your voice was. He chuckled. I was a squeaker. She was so proud, his mother whispered. You can hear it in her laugh. They watched it twice, then a third time, not because it was perfect, but because it was whole. Afterward, he stood and turned to her. I want to show you something. She followed him to his room. He pulled out a notebook, one filled with music sheets, scribbled lyrics, and crossed out verses. This is what I've been working on, he said. She flipped through slowly, reading the words. One page caught her eye. It was titled The Porch Light. She read the first verse aloud. Even if the locks are rusted, even if the map is torn, there's a porch light still burning, waiting for the lost and worn. Her voice broke on the last line. I wrote it after reading her letter, he said. It's beautiful. It's for her, he replied. But also for you. She looked up at him. Thank you. That night, he recorded a demo. He sat with his guitar, in front of a cheap mic. She sat in the hallway, just out of sight, listening. When he finished, he stepped out and found her still sitting there, eyes closed, leaning against the wall. That's the first time I've felt peace in years, she whispered. He nodded. She brought us back. No, she said. You did. They didn't talk much after that. Some feelings don't need words. Just presence. Just being there. In the morning they had breakfast together. Real breakfast. Pancakes. Eggs. Music playing low in the background. As she cleaned the dishes, he looked at her and said, You can stay a few more days if you want. She smiled. I'd like that. And in that quiet kitchen, under the soft clatter of plates and the hum of a sleepy radio, something unspoken passed between them. Not a full mending, but the start of one. The slow, gentle stitchwork of love, returning to its thread. He sat on the porch with his guitar in his lap, fingers gently sliding over the strings without playing. The morning was cool, the sky painted in soft grays. The old wind chime near the door whispered with each breeze, his grandmother's favorite. Inside, she was making tea. He could hear the gentle clinks of ceramic, the faint sound of humming. She came out holding 2 mugs. "You still take it without sugar?" she asked. He nodded. "She used to say sweetness came after the bitterness. She said that to me once too," she said, with a soft laugh. "Right after a heartbreak." They sipped in silence for a moment. "She always believed you'd write something that mattered," she said. He looked at her. She said, "Your songs were your way of healing the world." "I don't know about the world," he replied. "I think maybe I was just trying to heal myself." She reached into her sweater pocket and pulled out a folded slip of paper. "What's that?" She wrote this on the back of a receipt. "I found it in an old photo album." He unfolded it. A short verse in his grandmother's handwriting. "When the music fades and people leave, let your own heart be the song you believe." I think she was trying to remind you that validation doesn't come from applause. He folded it and tucked it into his notebook. "I'm going to finish the song today," he said. "I'd love to hear it." He nodded, then stood, went inside, and shut the door behind him. She stayed on the porch, listening to the faint strums through the wood-paneled walls, smiling as old memories slowly became new again. Inside, he sat with his guitar, journal open beside him. He stared at the lyrics for a long time. Then he began to sing. "I waited too long to say I'm sorry. Thought silence would keep me strong. But the echo of what I didn't do has been singing all along. You lit the porch for me every night. Even when I never came, I kept walking past your light, thinking I had no shame. Now the doors are closed, the windows dim, and I'm staring at your name. I hope these chords reach where you are. I hope you hear my pain. Forgiveness ain't a song you hum. It's the silence you survive. But you taught me how to play again, and love what's still alive." He strummed the final note and closed his eyes, then recorded it. Later he walked out with his laptop in his hands. She looked up from her seat on the porch swing. "It's done." She didn't say anything, just nodded. He set it on the small patio table, clicked play, and let the song fill the air between them. Her hands trembled as she listened, and when it ended, she wiped at her face with the sleeve of her sweater. "I wish she could have heard that." "She did," he said softly. "She's been listening." A pause. Then she reached across and took his hand. "You know, I used to sing. Not well, but I did. I remember," he said. "You sang in the car, only when I thought you were asleep. You sang Hallelujah once," he said. "I never forgot it." She smiled through her tears. "I used to dream of being someone else. A singer, a traveler, anyone but who I was." He didn't reply, just waited. "I think that's why I left," she continued. "I was so scared of becoming ordinary, of being trapped in one place. And now I see, there was nothing ordinary about what I left." They sat together for a long time after that, 2 hands holding the same ache, letting it soften. That afternoon, he uploaded the song. No fanfare, no hashtags, just the title, "The Porch Light, for Grandma." A few likes came in, then a few comments. He didn't check it much. It wasn't for the world, it was for her, for them. 3 days later, he received an email. A small indie label had heard the song, said it felt real, raw and hauntingly sincere. They asked if he'd consider working on an EP. He showed her the message. "What do you think?" he asked. "I think it's the porch light," she whispered. "What do you mean?" She always said, "When something feels right, it'll come to you like light breaking a long night." He smiled. I was thinking of calling the EP letters I never sent. She looked away, swallowing emotion. Maybe it's time we both start sending them. The next day, she wrote her first letter to her mother. It wasn't long, just enough. You gave me everything I didn't know how to accept. You held on longer than I ever deserved. I'm sorry I made you wait. I'm sorry I didn't say goodbye. Thank you for loving him when I couldn't. Thank you for loving me even when I ran. I hope you hear me now. She folded it and placed it in the garden next to a lavender plant her mother once planted, tucked under a small stone. A letter finally sent. A week passed, then another. He kept writing. She kept healing. Sometimes they talked, sometimes they didn't. But they always shared morning tea. One evening, as the sky dimmed into navy and gold, she stepped into his room, holding a framed photo. It was old, the three of them, him, his mother, and his grandmother, on the front steps of the house. Long before the absences and the silences, she always wanted us together, she said. He took the frame and set it on his desk. She finally got it. He turned to her. You thinking of staying? She hesitated. I was, but I also think it might be time to build something of my own again. He nodded slowly. Somewhere close, maybe. He looked at her and smiled. That'd be good. She stepped forward and hugged him. Tight, real, for the first time in years. I love you, she said. I know, he whispered back. I love you too. As she stepped out of the room, he sat at his desk, the glow of the screen warming the new song he was working on. At the top of the page, he wrote the title, Letters She Finally Sent. He smiled and began to write. He scrolled through the comments slowly, almost cautiously, like he wasn't sure if he deserved to read them. This song made me cry in my car. Reminded me of my dad. I haven't spoken to my mother in 5 years. I'm sending her this tonight. Thank you for making this. You said what I couldn't. The EP had quietly gone viral. Nothing explosive, just ripples. Thousands of people listening, quietly, at night, in silence, the way it was meant to be heard. His inbox was filling with messages, some from people in the industry, but most from people who'd been broken and didn't know how to say it. He closed the laptop. She was standing in the doorway, arms crossed, unsure whether to interrupt. You okay? She asked. He nodded. Yeah, just a lot. You look like someone just told you you're seen. I think maybe they did. She stepped in and sat on the edge of the bed. I listened again this morning. You've heard it like 50 times, and it still undoes me. She smiled. He looked at her. I think I want to visit her grave. Silence. She didn't reply right away. Her hands tightened around each other. She's buried back in Lancaster. She finally said, same town we left. I figured, would you want me to come with you? He hesitated. Yeah, he said. I think she'd like that. The drive was quiet, except for the soft hum of music on the radio. Not his own. He couldn't bear to listen to himself right now. She looked out the window most of the time, hands resting on her lap. He noticed she was holding something, a folded paper. What's that? A letter. For her. She nodded. I didn't know what else to bring. I think that's perfect. They arrived just before sunset. The cemetery was small, modest, surrounded by trees and rolling hills. He walked slowly, scanning names. When he found it, his breath caught in his throat. Margaret Ellen, 1939, 2024. Still listening, the words on her headstone made him crumble. He knelt down, tears rising before he could stop them. She always said she'd still listen, he whispered. His mother stood behind him, then slowly knelt beside him. I used to visit in secret, she said quietly. Once a year, I'd sit here for hours, couldn't bring myself to speak. Just sat. He turned to her. Why didn't you tell me? Because I was ashamed. I thought if I said it out loud, it wouldn't be enough. He looked back at the stone. Sometimes just showing up is enough. She unfolded her letter and placed it on the grave, held down by a small flat stone. I told her I'm sorry, she said, and that I'm proud of you. He smiled. She knows. They stayed for a long time. Then he pulled out his phone. I want to play the song, one last time. She nodded. He hit play. The soft chords spilled into the air. The porch light. The wind seemed to hush around them, as if the world paused to listen. She closed her eyes. He bowed his head. And somewhere in that quiet, between grief and grace, something broke open. Not in pain, but in peace. When the song ended, they stood. She touched the headstone one last time. I'm going to write to Dad next, she said. He looked at her. You think he'll read it? I don't know, she said. But I need to say the words, even if they just sit on a page. He nodded. I think Grandma would have wanted that. Back in the car, she stared out the window again. You know, she said, after a while, I've been thinking about buying that little house down the street, the one near the bakery. He glanced over. You serious? I don't want to run anymore, she said. I want to be close, not just for you, but for me. I'd like that. He smiled. Maybe you can even start singing again. She laughed. Don't push your luck. The next few weeks moved like waves, steady, full of little tides of healing. He performed his first live show in a tiny bookshop downtown. Just a mic, a stool, and 15 people. She was in the front row. When he sang The Porch Light, 3 people cried. One woman clutched her chest. A man next to her reached for her hand. When the show ended, people came up to him, quietly. One said, "Your song made me call my brother." Another whispered, "I haven't spoken to my mum in 12 years, thank you." Later that night, back at home, he was cleaning up his guitar when he heard her voice from the kitchen. "You've started something." He turned. "What do you mean?" "You're not just writing music, you're starting a conversation. People have been afraid to have." He looked down. "I wasn't trying to fix anyone." "Exactly," she said. "That's why it's working." She handed him an envelope. "What's this?" "Your grandmother's last will. I found it while sorting through the storage box. There's something in it you should read." He opened it carefully. Inside was a single note, handwritten, "To my grandson. There's a key in the music box. It's to the drawer I never opened in front of you. I kept something there for you. Use it when you're ready. You'll know what to do." His eyes widened. "I never opened that drawer," he whispered. She walked with him to the old cabinet, still standing in the hallway. Something neither of them had touched since she moved in. He opened the music box. The tiny key sat inside, barely rusted. He unlocked the drawer. Inside was a worn leather folder, and inside that, a certificate, a deed, the house. It was now his. "She left it to you," she whispered. "She wanted you to always have a place to return to." He sat down slowly. "She never stopped giving," he said. "No, she never did." A week later, he moved into the house, not to escape, but to begin. He left the front porch light on every night and every week. Without fail, his mother came by. Sometimes they ate in silence. Sometimes they sang. Sometimes they just sat on the steps and remembered. He started a project. He called it the Porch Light Letters. People from around the world could write letters they never sent to lost mothers, estranged fathers, silent brothers, forgotten grandmothers. He read some on his live stream. Others he turned into songs. Every week, a new one. Every week, another person healed a little more. Because grief isn't a wall, it's a door, and every door needs a light. He sat at the kitchen table, sipping lukewarm coffee, as the screen blinked in front of him. Over 200 unread letters submitted to the Porchlight Letters project. Most came anonymously. Some included first names. All of them were heavy. He clicked open the next one. Dear Mom, it's been 23 years, and I still remember the way your hand felt on my forehead when I had fevers. I remember your humming. I remember how you always made rice with cinnamon when I was sad. But I don't remember why I stopped coming home. I tell people I had to move on, that I needed to chase my dreams. But the truth is, I think I was afraid to admit I needed you. Now I light candles instead of making phone calls. I play your favorite records just to pretend you're in the room. I laugh a little louder than I feel, hoping that maybe you'll hear it. If you're reading this, or if you ever could, please know I loved you every day I was gone. I just didn't know how to show it. I'm sorry. He let the silence sit. Then moved to the next, to my brother. We haven't spoken in 10 years. After Dad's funeral, I shut the door and never opened it again. You didn't deserve that. You were hurting too. You just showed it differently. I thought I was the only one bleeding, but maybe we both were. I want to say that I miss you, that I still remember the time we stayed up watching movies till dawn after Mom left. You made me feel like the world hadn't ended. I wish I could have done the same for you. Maybe it's too late. Maybe it's not. But I still keep your number saved. I just never hit send. Maybe one day I will. He exhaled deeply. So many voices, so many regrets poured into paper. And then he saw it. Subject line, for Margaret Ellen. His breath caught. He clicked it. The email was simple. No introduction, just this. You don't know me, but I knew your grandmother. We met at a diner outside Lancaster 15 years ago. I was struggling. 2 kids, a broken home, and more mistakes than I knew what to do with. She sat across from me and asked if I wanted to talk. I told her no. She gave me tea anyway. Then she told me a story about her grandson. Said he was stubborn, brilliant, and deeply wounded. She said he didn't visit, that he didn't call, but she loved him anyway. She said sometimes love is like a porch light. It stays on, even when nobody's coming. That night changed me. I turned my life around. I just thought you should know. She saved more than just you. She saved me too. Thank you for sharing her voice. It was always meant to echo. He stared at the screen, unmoving. Then quietly, he hit save. He printed the letter, framed it, placed it next to her photo on the hallway wall. Later that night, his mother came by with soup and soft bread, the kind she used to make when things felt uncertain. He handed her the letter. She read it, mouth trembling. She did this, she whispered, even when I thought she had nothing left to give. He nodded. I think she always gave most. When nobody was watching, they sat down at the table. He pulled out a small stack of printed letters. I'm thinking of making this into a book. She looked up. A collection. Yeah, letters that stayed. Stories from people who never got to say goodbye. Or hello. Or I'm sorry. She held one of the letters to her chest. It could help a lot of people. He smiled. That's the plan. Then he pulled out another envelope. This came today. She opened it slowly. Inside was a formal letter, an invitation. A small music collective in New York City was curating a live showcase for independent artists whose music centered around healing and storytelling. He'd been chosen. She looked up at him. "Are you going?" "I want to," he said, "but not alone." She raised an eyebrow. "You want me to come?" He nodded. "You were part of this too." She exhaled. "Okay," she said. "Let's go." The trip to New York was surreal. Noise, light, motion, but beneath all of it, something quieter, purpose. Backstage, he tuned his guitar in silence. She sat beside him, holding a copy of the framed letter. "You nervous?" "Not about the music," he said. "About being heard." She smiled. "You've been heard since the moment you stopped trying to be perfect." He looked at her. "You've changed. So have you." He stepped onto the stage. The lights weren't blinding, just soft enough to see the front row. He spotted an elderly man, eyes closed, holding someone's hand. A teenage girl weeping quietly into her sleeve. A middle-aged woman with a letter in her lap. He began to play. "There's a letter on the kitchen floor, one I never got to send. It said, 'I'm sorry for the silence, and I still call you my friend. If you're listening in the stillness, if you're reading through the pain, know the porch light's still been burning. I just couldn't find the way.'" He stopped after the final chord. The room was still. Then applause. Not thunderous, not wild, but deep, honest. Later people lined up, one by one. They handed him folded papers, letters, hundreds. When he returned home, he stacked them in a wooden box beneath his desk. He called it the Porch Archive. He planned to read them slowly, one a day, to remember what he was really building. Not a brand, not a career, a place where pain could speak and still be loved. That night, as the wind blew softly outside and the chimes hummed like distant lullabies, he wrote a letter of his own. "Dear Grandma, I didn't know how to be whole until you broke my silence. I didn't know how to forgive until I forgave myself. You never stopped believing I could be more than what I had been, and now I'm helping others believe the same. You gave me the light. I just had to turn around and see it. Thank you. I miss you. I love you. Your grandson." He folded it, walked to the front yard, lit a single candle on the steps, and placed the letter beside it. Let the wind carry what it could, and kept the rest inside him, where it always belonged. The phone buzzed just past midnight. He stared at it. Unknown number. He almost ignored it, but something in his gut told him not to. He answered. "Hello?" Silence. Then, "Hey?" The voice. He hadn't heard it in years, not since the shouting, the slammed door, the words no one could take back. He sat upright. "Dad?" More silence. "I wasn't sure you'd answer." He didn't know what to say. How did you get my number?" "I've been following you, online I mean. The songs, the letters, the live streams, all of it." His mouth was dry. "And you thought now was a good time?" A pause. "No, I thought 5 years ago was a good time, but I didn't know how to come back." He stood, pacing slowly. "You didn't come to Grandma's funeral." "I couldn't. She asked about you. You know, even at the end, even after everything." "I know." Silence again. Then his father's voice, lower this time, more fragile. "I listened to the one you wrote about the porch light." His jaw clenched. "I didn't write it for you." "I know," he replied, "but it found me anyway." He sighed. "What do you want?" "I don't know," his father said. Maybe just to hear your voice, to know you're still out there. He didn't reply. He looked at the photo on his desk. His grandmother smiling. His voice was cold. You don't get to come back just because you feel something now. I'm not asking for a second chance. I'm just asking to be acknowledged. I spent years waiting for you, hoping you'd show up, hoping you'd be the one to apologize first. I was proud. No, he said sharply. You were selfish. The line went quiet. Then a breath. You're right. The words hit differently. He blinked. What? I was selfish. I was angry. I blamed your mother. I blamed everyone but myself. And when I finally realized what I had done, I figured it was too late. His heart thudded. And now, I don't know, his father said. Maybe it still is. A long silence followed. Then he whispered, she left me the house. I know. She forgave you too. Did you know that? I hoped, his father said. But I didn't deserve it. He swallowed. I hated you. I hated me too, his father replied. That's the problem. More silence. Then he asked, why now? Because I don't want to die, wondering if you ever forgave me. He shook his head slowly. I don't know if I have. That's okay, his father said. I just needed to say it out loud. He closed his eyes. I'll send you an address, he said quietly. For what? For a letter, he said. Not a phone call, not a visit, not yet. Just tell me your truth. Okay, and then I'll decide if I'm ready. I'll write it tonight. He hung up. The house was silent, except for the echo of the past catching up. A week later, the letter came. No return address, just his name, written in familiar handwriting. He opened it slowly. Son, I'm not asking you to forget the things I said, or the things I failed to do. I just want you to know what was happening inside me. When your mum left, I broke in places I didn't even know existed. Not because she left, but because she had to. She was stronger than me, and when you stayed with her, I felt replaced, forgotten. But instead of owning that pain, I blamed it on you. I told myself you were being manipulated, that you didn't love me anymore. And every time I saw your face, I saw my own failure. So I pushed you away before you could push me. It doesn't excuse anything. I know that, but I hope it helps you understand. Your grandmother never stopped writing me, even when I never replied. She sent postcards, birthday cards. Once, even a photo of you asleep on her porch. She believed we'd find our way back. I think she left the light on for both of us. I'm sorry I didn't knock sooner. Dad, he folded the letter, hands shaking. Then he walked outside, stood on the porch, and stared at the light. He didn't cry, but something inside softened. He walked inside, pulled out a pen, and began writing. Dad, I don't know what this is yet, but it's something. Maybe it's a crack in the door. Maybe it's not forgiveness yet, but it's no longer hate. I've learned that grief and love aren't opposites. They're two halves of the same door frame. I want to know your story, all of it, but only if you're ready to tell it with honesty. No performances, no shame, just truth. One letter at a time. He sealed it and mailed it the next morning, not with hope, but with space. And sometimes that's enough. 3 weeks passed. Another letter came, then another. They didn't talk about the past at first. They talked about books, about music, about memories that didn't hurt. He learned his father had taken up gardening. He'd started volunteering at a shelter. He had a dog now. Slowly, the edges dulled. One day, he read his father's 4th letter aloud on a live stream. Not by name, but by heart. It ended like this. I don't know what the future holds, but if you're willing, I'd like to plant something again, even if it's small, maybe just a conversation. Maybe one day, a visit. The comments exploded. I haven't spoken to my dad in 14 years. This gives me hope. That letter cracked something in me. This story is healing me in real time. Later that night, his mother came over again. He showed her the latest letter. She read it slowly, then placed it down. You think you'll ever meet him again? He stared out the window. I don't know. She put her hand on his. But you want to. He nodded. I think the door's open now. She smiled. Then maybe it's time to walk through it. That weekend, he wrote a new song. It didn't rhyme much. It didn't need to. It just told the truth. You left before I knew the cost, and I stayed angry with the loss. But here we are, two voices cracked, just trying to make our way back. He titled it, Still Listening. And this time, when he played it, the porch light wasn't just for the dead. It was for the living, too. For anyone still brave enough to speak. For anyone who finally found the words. He stood at the bottom of the gravel path, staring up at the old cabin. The trees had grown taller. The paint had faded more than he remembered. The porch light was still there, dimmer, maybe, but lit. He took a breath, then another footsteps crunched behind him. His mother, you sure? He nodded. I need to see him, not as the boy who waited, but as the man who walked forward. She squeezed his hand. I'll be here, right here. He walked up the steps, each one echoing memories, Christmas mornings, summer thunderstorms, silent teenage escapes. At the top, the screen door creaked open, and there he was, older, thinner, wearing the same flannel jacket he used to throw over his shoulders after work. Neither spoke for a moment. Then quietly, "Hey," he nodded. "Hey." His father stepped aside. "Come in." He paused, then stepped over the threshold. The living room was nearly the same. A few new photographs, a small plant in the corner, the smell of old wood and lemon cleaner. "I made coffee," his father said. Heading toward the kitchen, he followed, cautiously, sat at the table. 2 mugs, one chipped, steam curled gently upward. His father sat across from him, fingers trembling just slightly. "You look good," he said. "You look older." His father chuckled softly. "That's accurate." They sipped in silence for a while. Then his father spoke. "I didn't know if you'd come. I didn't know if I'd stay." More silence. Then his father reached into a drawer, pulled out a box. Old, wooden, familiar. His heart caught. "That's hers," he said. "I found it when I cleaned the attic," his father said. "Didn't open it. Thought it wasn't mine to open." He hesitated, then reached for it. Unlatched it slowly. Inside, letters. So many. Dozens. Tied in small bundles with twine. His grandmother's handwriting on each envelope. One for every year. Every missed birthday. Every unanswered Christmas. He lifted the first one. "Dear Robbie," it began. His throat tightened. "She wrote me," his father whispered, "even when I didn't deserve it." He nodded. "She believed in us, even when we didn't believe in each other." They sat in silence, going through the letters, one by one, until the sun slipped behind the trees. Then, without thinking, he said it. "I hated you for a long time." His father didn't flinch. "I hated me too. But I see now," he continued. "You weren't just angry. You were scared." "I was," his father said. "Terrified." Of what? Of being forgotten. The words hit like a stone. He swallowed hard. "You never were. I just didn't know how to love you without hurting." His father looked at him. Tears shimmered, but didn't fall. "I think we both got that from somewhere." He smiled faintly. "Maybe from you. Maybe from me." They laughed. It wasn't loud. but it was real. And for the first time in years, it didn't sound like regret. It sounded like release. That night, they sat on the porch, just like they used to. The light hummed above them. Bugs flitted lazily through the air. "Do you remember when I crashed your truck?" he asked. His father chuckled. "You mean the time you said it was a controlled test of physics?" He laughed. "I was so sure I'd get away with it." "I let you believe it," his father said, "because you needed to." He looked over. "Why?" His father shrugged. "I was too tired to punish you. And maybe a little proud you survived it." They both laughed again, softer this time, the kind of laughter that only comes after years of silence. Then his father grew quiet. "I used to sit here after work, long after your mum left. I'd watch the light flicker. I told myself, if it ever went out, it meant you'd stop thinking of me." He looked at the bulb. "It never did." "No," his father said. "Not once." They sat a while longer. Then his father stood. "Come with me." They walked around back, through the overgrown garden, to a small plot of earth, freshly tilled. A tiny wooden sign read, "Margaret's Garden." He blinked. "I planted these last year," his father said, kneeling beside the soil. "Peonies, her favorite." He knelt too. The earth smelled of spring and memory. "I want to build a bench," his father said. "Something permanent. A place people can sit, read, reflect." He nodded slowly. "I can help." His father looked at him. "You'd do that?" He smiled. "I think it's time." Over the next few weeks, they built the bench. Every plank, every nail, every laugh shared over poorly measured angles. It stitched something back together. They didn't talk about everything, but they talked about enough. One evening, as the bench finally stood complete, they sat down together. Fresh flowers swayed in the breeze. "I used to think healing meant fixing everything," he said quietly. His father nodded. "But now, I think it just means being present." They watched the sky turn pink, then purple, then dark, and still they sat. The porch light blinked on behind them, no longer a symbol of waiting, now one of reunion, of quiet peace. He looked up at the stars. "Do you think she'd be proud?" His father didn't hesitate. "I think she always was." They sat in silence after that, but it wasn't heavy. It was full, alive, whole, and somewhere, beyond the sound of wind and earth and memory, a porch light flickered in someone else's home, still waiting, still hoping, still ready to be answered. The music stopped. He let the last chord echo into silence, then looked up at the camera, smiling gently. "That one's called Coming Home," he said. The chat exploded. "I haven't spoken to my mom in 6 years. This made me want to. This feels like forgiveness wrapped in melody. Why does every live stream feel like a hug? I didn't know I needed." He closed the laptop slowly, then sat in silence. The letters were stacked on his desk. Dozens now, some unopened, some reread. All from strangers, people who heard his story, people who hadn't yet made peace with their own. He picked up the first envelope from the top, postmarked from Kansas. He opened it. "I saw your video about your dad, about the porch light. I haven't spoken to my brother since we buried our mother. He blamed me, I blamed him. But after watching you, I left a light on. I hope he notices. Thank you for helping me try." He swallowed, then opened another. "Your voice reached a part of me I thought had died. I wrote a letter to my daughter. She hasn't replied, but I wrote it, and that alone felt like a miracle." Another. "Do you think some relationships are meant to stay broken? Or can everything be mended? Even if it's been too long?" He leaned back, closed his eyes, What started as a letter from a boy to a grandmother had become a thread in hundreds of stories, hundreds of hearts. He stood, walked over to the wall beside his window. It was covered now, a tapestry of hope, postcards, sticky notes, snippets of lyrics, photographs of strangers holding candles, photos of porch lights, all sent to him. He ran his fingers over one message, scribbled in red marker. Still haven't talked to him, but tonight I left the door unlocked. He smiled, then reached for his guitar, started humming. A tune began to form, soft, steady, like footsteps returning home. He began singing under his breath. I'm not the words I never said, but maybe I'm the ones I'll try. If you're still waiting by the edge, then maybe I'll stop passing by. His phone buzzed. A message. Unknown number. Just a link. He hesitated, clicked it. It opened a YouTube video. Title, The Letter He Never Got to Read. His stomach flipped. The thumbnail showed a girl, early 20s maybe, dark curls, tear-streaked cheeks. He hit play. Hi, she said softly. I don't know if this will ever reach you, but I saw your song about the grandmother, and I think I have something that belongs to you. He leaned closer. You probably don't remember me, she continued, but 5 years ago, I worked at the senior center where your grandmother stayed during the last few months. I was just a volunteer. You visited once, maybe twice. We never spoke, but I remember your face. His chest tightened. She continued. After she passed, we were clearing her things, and I found this envelope. It was buried under her favorite blanket. No postage, no name, just for him. She reached off camera, held up a letter. He stopped breathing. I didn't know what to do with it, she said. Oh. But then this year I came across your video, your music, and I knew it was meant for you. She held the envelope to the camera. His name was written on it, in her handwriting, his grandmother's. She nodded. I've mailed it. Should arrive in a day or two. I'm sorry it took me this long. She paused. And thank you for reminding us that love doesn't disappear. It just waits. The video ended. He sat frozen, heart pounding. The letter, a letter he never knew existed. From the woman who raised him, the woman he hadn't visited enough, the woman he thought had said everything already, but apparently hadn't. The next day he barely left the window. The mailbox stood in the distance, unmoving. Each passing car felt like thunder. His hands were restless, his mind even more so. What if it wasn't really for him? What if it said things he wasn't ready to read? What if it was just goodbye? By noon a mail truck stopped. He sprinted. The envelope was smaller than he expected, faded, the ink slightly smudged, but unmistakably hers. He stood on the porch, hands trembling, then slowly opened it. Inside one page, folded once. He unfolded it. My sweet boy, I don't know if this will ever reach you. I don't know if the world will let us have the moments we both deserve. But I need to say this while I still can. I have watched you grow in the quiet of my heart. Watched you wrestle with pain that didn't belong to you. Watched you take on the burdens of adults before you were ready. And I want to say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for not protecting you more. For not being stronger when you needed me to be. I tried, baby. I tried in every way I knew. But life, it has a way of wearing us thin. Even now, I still believe in you. Not because you're perfect, but because you're honest. Because you feel deeply. Because you keep trying, even when it hurts. If I'm gone by the time you read this, please know, my love never left with me. It's still in the hallway. In the garden, in the lamp I kept on. It's in every sunrise you don't notice, and every quiet you carry alone. And please, forgive your father. He didn't know how to love you the right way, but he always did, in his own broken, quiet way. Give him a chance, if you can. Give yourself one too, because love isn't about getting it right. It's about showing up, even late, even scared. You've always been worth showing up for. With all my love, Grandma. He didn't cry, he wept. His body folded over the letter. He sank to the porch. The same wood she once swept barefoot. The same steps he once avoided. The porch that had waited, just like her. After a while, he stood, walked inside, sat at the desk, and wrote a letter. Not to his grandmother, not to his father, to everyone, to the ones who hadn't made the call yet, to the ones who hadn't forgiven, to the ones still hiding behind pride and pain. If you're reading this, it's not too late. Not because everything can be fixed, but because love doesn't expire. It just waits. It waits for courage, for a letter, for one sentence that says, I miss you. This is your permission to try. Your porch light is still on. Maybe theirs is too. He signed it. A boy who waited too long and came back anyway. Then he hit post and let the world see. His inbox had become a river. Messages flowed in every hour. Letters of regret, stories of reconciliation. People sharing how they picked up phones after years of silence. He read everyone, replied to most, sometimes with a song, sometimes with just a few words. I see you. Thank you for trying. One afternoon, as he returned from the garden, a small brown envelope sat on the porch bench. No postage, no address, just his name. Written in black ink. He frowned, picked it up. The handwriting looked familiar, but not his grandmother's. He turned it over. No sender, just sealed, tightly. He paused, then opened it. One folded sheet. He opened it slowly. Recognized the first word. Hey Robbie. His heart stopped. Only 2 people had ever called him that. One was gone, the other still alive. He read on. I wasn't going to write this. Figured maybe you'd moved on. Figured maybe I should too. But then I saw your video. The one with the letter from your grandmother. You probably don't want to hear from me. Not after everything I said, or didn't say. But there's something about watching someone else brave enough to come home that makes cowards like me realize maybe there's still time. I don't know how to start over, but I know how to show up. So this is me, showing up, not to fix everything, just to say I still care. If you ever want to talk, you know where to find me. No name, but he didn't need one. He knew who it was. She was the one person he hadn't mentioned. Not in the videos, not in the interviews, not even to his father, because she had been the one to leave him behind. When he was 17, because she was the one he loved, and the one he never forgave, his sister. The last time they spoke was at the hospital. His grandmother had just fallen. He had rushed in, breathless, shaking, furious, and there she was, already there, holding their grandmother's hand, whispering things he would never get to hear. She looked up, but he hadn't hugged her, hadn't said hello, just a single bitter question. Why now? She'd looked back at him, equally tired, because she's still here. And he had said, and I'm not. She had sighed. Rob, we all have our ways of running. He had turned his back, left the room, and never came back, until it was too late. She hadn't come to the funeral. He never asked why. And now this letter. She'd watched his video. She'd seen everything. And still, she reached out. Still, she left a letter. Not a text, not a call, a letter. He sat on the porch for hours, letter in hand, just breathing, just remembering. She used to be the brave one, the protector, the one who stood between him and their parents' worst fights, the one who stayed up late, helping him study for tests. She used to braid his hair when he was little, just to make him laugh. She had been everything once, and then life happened. College, distance, pride, pain, and now, this. He stood up, went inside, pulled open the drawer where he kept his own stationery. It had been a while since he used it. He wrote slowly, carefully, each word like a step on uncertain ground. I didn't think I'd hear from you again. Maybe I didn't want to. But the truth is, your letter shook something loose. Something I buried a long time ago. You were always the strong one. You left because you needed to breathe. I stayed because I didn't know how to. I was angry when you disappeared. I felt abandoned. But I also know now, we were both just trying to survive. If you're willing, I'd like to talk. Not to rehash, not to blame, just to talk. You still have the porch light too. I think it's time we both walked home. He folded the letter, slipped it into an envelope, wrote her name on the front. That's all, no address. He knew she'd find it, or maybe it would find her. He left it in the same spot hers had been, on the porch bench, then went inside. Waited. 3 days passed. No reply. He told himself he was fine. Kept making music, kept answering messages from strangers. But something in him buzzed, an ache just behind the ribs, a hum he couldn't tune out. On the 4th day, he walked to the porch, and there it was. Another envelope. White this time, same handwriting, same spot. He opened it immediately. I sat in my car the night I left that first letter, watched the light in your studio window flicker. I almost knocked, but I couldn't. I was afraid you'd still see me as the girl who left. But I read your reply a dozen times. Each word felt like forgiveness wearing new shoes. Still uncomfortable, but ready to walk. I want to come back, Rob. I want to see Dad. I want to sit on that porch again. With you. Can I come home? He didn't hesitate. Ran inside. Wrote one word on a slip of paper. Yes. He left it on the bench. Didn't need an envelope. Didn't need anything else. That Friday evening, just before the sky turned gold, a car pulled into the driveway. He was already on the porch. Standing, heart beating faster than it had in years. She stepped out, a little older, eyes softer, hair shorter, but still her. She didn't speak. Neither did he. They just walked toward each other, and when they hugged, it wasn't dramatic. It wasn't perfect. It was human. A little stiff at first, then tighter, trembling. He whispered, I missed you. She whispered back, I missed everything. They sat on the bench, just like they used to, like two kids again, like two ghosts who had finally decided to be real. That night, they made dinner together. His father joined. The 3 of them sat at the old wooden table, the same one that had once held arguments. Now it held laughter, and soup, and bread, and too many stories. You still eat with your mouth open, she teased. He rolled his eyes. Some things never change. Their father smiled. No, but some things come back better. They clinked glasses of sweet tea, and for the first time in a long time, they felt like a family, not a perfect one, not a healed one, but a family that had tried, and kept trying, even when it was too late. It wasn't. He checked the mailbox out of habit. Now, but this time, something was different. Tucked between the usual fan letters and invitations to podcasts was a small yellow envelope. No stamps, no address, just a single name written in shaky handwriting, to the guy who sings about porch lights. He brought it inside, slid the envelope open. Inside was a folded letter, written in pencil, blocky handwriting. Childish, but careful. He read, "Hi, my name is Noah. I'm 12. I found your video on my cousin's phone. I liked the song. I liked how it made my cousin cry. She never cries, so I watched it again. Then I watched the one about your grandma. Then the one about your dad. Then all the others. You're sad, but not the bad kind. The kind that makes other people feel less alone. I haven't seen my mum in 3 years. She left when I was 9. I tell people she moved away, but really, she just stopped calling. My dad says it's complicated. I think adults use that word when they're scared to say what really happened. Anyway, I don't know why I'm writing. Maybe because I don't have anyone to say this to. But your song about home not being a place but a person, it's stuck in my head. Sometimes I pretend you're my big brother. Is that weird? You seem like someone who wouldn't forget my birthday. If you read this, thanks. I don't want anything. Just wanted someone to know I still miss her. Noah. He stared at the letter for a long time. 12. A kid who thought crying was a miracle. A kid who wanted nothing but to be remembered. He folded the letter back, then walked to the porch. His sister was there, reading. She looked up. Another one. He nodded. Yeah, he handed it to her. She read it slowly. Her lips trembled toward the end. He thinks you're his big brother. He sat down beside her. I think I need to write him back. She smiled. I think you already have. You just don't know it. He shook his head. No, not just in a song. I need him to know he's not alone. Really know it. She leaned in. Then do it. He sat at his desk that night, opened a blank page, and began writing. Dear Noah, first of all, thank you. You don't know how brave you are. It takes courage to write to someone you've never met, and even more to tell them the truth. I'm sorry your mom left. I'm sorry she hasn't called. And I'm sorry you've had to pretend everything's okay. You shouldn't have to do that. You deserve to be heard. Every feeling you have is real and important. You're not weird for pretending I'm your big brother. In fact, that might be one of the kindest things anyone's ever said to me. So if it's okay with you, I'll write like one. Here's what I've learned about pain. Little brother, it doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It just means something mattered. And here's what I know about moms who leave. Sometimes they're carrying pain they don't know how to name. Sometimes they don't leave because they stop loving. They leave because they've forgotten how to love themselves. That doesn't make it fair or right. But it might help you forgive her one day, even if you never hear from her again. You are not forgotten, Noah. I'm here. So are thousands of others who've heard your story now. You're not alone anymore. And just in case nobody tells you this tomorrow, you're doing great. I'm proud of you. Love, your big brother. He added a PS. I never forgot birthdays either. Happy early one. Let me know when it is. He posted the letter on his channel, called it A Letter to the Boy Who Misses His Mom. Within hours it went viral. The comments were overwhelming. I was Noah once. Now I'm 43 and still needed this. To every child who waited by the window, you matter. I've never cried this hard reading a YouTube post. Thank you. And then one comment stood out. From a user with no profile photo, just the words, I know who Noah is, and I think I'm his mom. His breath caught. He clicked the profile. No videos, no posts. Just a playlist titled, "Songs I Should Have Listened to Sooner." He sent a message, "Is this real?" No reply for 2 days. Then finally, a response. "Yes, I left when he was 9. I was lost. Still am, but I saw your video. I saw his letter. I cried for 3 hours. I don't expect forgiveness, but I'd like to send him a letter. I want to try." He didn't know what to say, but he forwarded her the P.O. box address and wrote one line back. "Try gently. He's worth the effort." 2 weeks passed. No updates. Noah hadn't written again. The world moved on, but he couldn't. Then one night, another envelope arrived. This time pink, childish stickers on the back. He opened it. Inside, a drawing, a stick figure with a guitar, another smaller one holding hands with it. Above them, a speech bubble that read, "Thanks for being my brother." And on the back, "It's my birthday today. I got a card from her. It wasn't perfect, but she said she loved me." I wrote back. I told her I'd need time, but I'd try. "I'm still scared, but I don't feel alone anymore. Love, Noah." He wiped his eyes, laughed softly, looked at his sister, who had been reading over his shoulder. She whispered, "You gave him something most people never get." He looked at her. "So did Grandma. So did you." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "I think maybe this is what healing looks like." He nodded, quietly, then stood up, walked to the porch, switched on the light, left the door open, and whispered to the sky, "We're home, Grandma. All of us." "Did you say yes?" "Yeah." He nodded slowly. "They asked me to speak. Local high school. Just a few words." His sister raised her eyebrows. "You? Speaking? At a school?" He laughed. "That's what I said. But then the principal told me their students started a porch light club after watching the videos." Her eyes widened. "You're kidding." "Dead serious. They meet every Thursday. They write letters, read them out loud, call family members they've ignored. Some kids even started visiting grandparents they hadn't seen in years." She shook her head, stunned. "Wow, all from one video." He glanced down at his hands. "No, all from pain. Shared pain. They just needed a place to put it." She smiled softly. "Then go, talk to them. You owe it to Grandma." He looked at her, then whispered, "And maybe I owe it to myself." The gymnasium was louder than he expected. Chairs scraped against linoleum. Teenagers whispered, laughed, checked their phones. A few whispered his name when he walked in. "Hey, that's the porch light guy." "No way, that's him." "Dude looks taller on camera." He smiled nervously. The principal greeted him. "Thank you again for coming." He nodded. "It's an honor." She leaned in. "Just speak from the heart. That's what they connect to." He walked to the mic, took a deep breath. The chatter died down. He looked at the sea of faces. Teenagers, all of them. Some bored, some curious, some expectant. He started speaking. "I used to think regret was just a feeling, something that sits in your chest and hurts. But regret isn't passive. It's active. It builds walls between people, between families." A few kids leaned in. He continued. "I ignored my grandmother's letters for years, told myself I was too busy, too angry, too far gone. But the truth, I was afraid that if I opened her words, I'd have to admit I missed her." Silence. One girl sniffled. He kept going. "I made music about everything, except the people who loved me, until it was too late, until I stood by her grave, holding letters I never answered." He paused, swallowed. "But that pain, It woke something up. It taught me that showing up late is better than never showing up at all. And sometimes when you turn on the light, someone's still waiting. A few kids clapped. One boy in the back stood up and started clapping harder. Then others joined. He smiled, humbled. Afterward, students came up to him, shook his hand, thanked him. Some just hugged him without saying a word. He signed notebooks, listened to stories. Then in the far corner, he saw someone sitting alone. An older boy, maybe 17, arms crossed, hat low, staring at him. Something about his face. He froze. No, it couldn't be. But as the crowd thinned, the boy stood up, walked over, stopped just a few feet away, and spoke. Didn't think you'd recognize me. His voice was deeper now, but familiar. Yeah, the boy nodded. I'm Cam, Auntie's kid, his cousin. They hadn't seen each other since they were both kids. The last time had been during the worst summer of their lives. The summer their uncle left. The summer their grandmother begged the family to stay close. The summer no one did. I saw your video, Cam said. He nodded. Which one? All of them. Silence. Then Cam added, I used to hate you. He looked up, surprised. I get it. No, I mean I really hated you. Thought you were selfish. Thought you abandoned all of us, especially Grandma. He lowered his eyes. I did. Cam's voice cracked. I visited her, you know, not every week, but often. And every time she asked about you. Every single time. He clenched his jaw. Cam continued. But then I saw the video, the porch light, the letter, the funeral, all of it. And for the first time, I realized, maybe we all abandoned her in our own way. He looked at Cam now. Really looked. You stayed. That mattered. Cam shook his head. Not enough. She wanted all of us. Not just visits. She wanted healing. Silence again. Heavy. Then Cam said, I'm not here to fight. I'm here to forgive. He exhaled slowly. I don't deserve it. Cam nodded. Maybe not, but neither do I. That's how forgiveness works. He stepped forward, held out his hand. The older cousin stared at it, then pulled him into a hug instead. Tight, real, long overdue. They didn't say anything more. They didn't need to. Two broken boys trying to become whole again. That evening, he sat on the porch again, his sister beside him, Cam on the steps, a plate of cookies between them. She nudged him. You're quieter than usual. He looked up at the stars. I saw Cam today. She blinked. What? He came to the talk. Her eyes widened. You're kidding. He shook his head. He's taller now, angry still, but softer underneath. She smiled, like someone else. I know. He chuckled. He forgave me. She reached for his hand. I think Grandma would be proud. Cam chimed in. She would have made us hot cocoa right now, with marshmallows. He nodded, and told us to stop being dramatic. They all laughed. Then silence again. But it wasn't heavy. It was peaceful, healing. She whispered, I wish we had more time with her. He nodded. We don't, but we have this, and we have each other. Cam looked up at the porch light, still glowing. Do you ever turn that thing off? He smiled. No, not anymore. She leaned on his shoulder. Me neither. They sat like that, until the stars blurred with sleep. 3 souls, 1 light, and 100 unspoken apologies turned into love. You sure you want to do this? I'm sure. I should have done it years ago. His sister handed him the small leather notebook, worn, faded, but still intact. You found it in her things. She nodded. Tucked behind a photo frame. I almost missed it. He opened the first page, There was no title, just a date, June 3rd, 1974. And below that, the town isn't on most maps, but I remember every corner. I was 17, and it was the first time I ran from home, and the first time I learned what home could really mean. He looked up. What is this? His sister smiled faintly. Her journal, from the summer she never talked about. He turned the page. More dates, more entries. A young woman's thoughts, hopes, regrets, questions about love, dreams of music, talk of a boy named Peter. Peter? Yeah, she said. I looked him up. There's no last name, but I found an old letter he sent her, addressed from a town called Elmeridge, population maybe 2,000. He stared down at the notebook. She always said she had secrets. His sister nodded. Maybe she left them for you. Cam looked up from his phone. You're really doing this? He nodded. Leaving tomorrow. Need a travel buddy? He hesitated. Cam added, I'll bring snacks. Good ones. He laughed. All right. You're in. The road stretched endlessly. Golden fields blurred past the windows. They drove in silence for a while. Then Cam said, I used to hate long drives. Why? Because they always led somewhere I didn't want to be. He glanced over. And now? Cam shrugged. Now it feels like I'm going somewhere that matters. He smiled. Me too. They reached Elmeridge by evening, a sleepy town. One diner, one gas station, and a library that looked like it hadn't changed since 1950. Cam whistled. You sure this is the place? He held up the letter. Matched the address. This is it. They parked, walked up the narrow sidewalk. The old woman at the library desk looked up, glasses down her nose. Help you boys. He stepped forward. Did a woman named Margaret ever live here? This would have been in the 70s. She'd have been 17, maybe went by Maggie. The librarian paused, then stood slowly, walked to the back room, returned with a dusty box, pulled out a yearbook. 1974, only graduating class that year. Everyone left after the factory closed. She flipped pages, then stopped. There. He looked and froze. There she was. 17. Bright eyes. That same knowing smile. Just to a boy with a guitar in his lap. Peter. Under the photo. Peter Harris and Maggie Rose. Summer song. He pointed. Who's Peter Harris? The librarian smiled softly. Moved away decades ago. But he left something behind. Music. Stories. And a song no one ever forgot. They found the song later that night, buried in an old archive online. Grainy. But there it was. Peter and Maggie, singing together. Two voices, one harmony. The lyrics simple, but the last verse made his throat tighten. If the road forgets my name, and the world forgets my face, let the porch light find me home again. In her arms, in that old place, he whispered, she had a whole life before us. Cam nodded, and she never forgot it. He turned back to the journal. Another entry. Peter asked me to stay, but I was scared. I left without saying goodbye. I've written him letters every year since. Never mailed a single one. Maybe I'll be braver next summer. Maybe not. He blinked fast, then flipped to the back. One final page. Different handwriting. Shaky. Older. Asterisk. If you're reading this, it means I never found the courage. But I hope you do. If love knocks, don't hide. If family calls, don't wait. If the road calls you back, go. I made peace, but I wish I made it sooner. Don't let fear be your reason for silence. The porch light is on, always was. Asterisk love. Grandma. He closed the journal, looked at Cam, then out the window. The stars above the town shimmered, like old memories. Let's stay one more night. Cam raised an eyebrow. Why? He smiled. Because I think someone here still remembers her song. You think he's still alive? Cam leaned back in the diner booth, chewing the last of his fries. The man across from him glanced at the photograph again. Peter Harris, his grandmother's first love. If he is, he said, I owe him a visit. Cam shook his head. You're chasing a ghost, man. Maybe, but it's her ghost. That matters. A waitress approached with coffee. She was older, maybe in her 60s, with bright eyes and a name tag that read, You're from out of town? She asked with a smile. He nodded, came looking for someone. Peter Harris, know him? She paused mid-pour, then set the pot down slowly. You said Peter? Yeah, he was here in the 70s. Played music with he hesitated. A girl named Maggie Rose. The smile faded. She sat down across from him without asking. You knew Maggie? He looked up. She was my grandmother. Deb's eyes welled up instantly. Lord have mercy, she whispered. You've got her eyes, and that soft jawline. He blinked, surprised. You knew her. Knew her. Deb laughed quietly. She was my best friend. We worked at the soda counter together. Spent every break on that hill by the old train tracks. And Peter, he was head over heels for her. Cam leaned forward. What happened to him? Deb sighed. She left. One night, no goodbye. Just vanished. Peter waited weeks, then months. He thought something happened to her. He never knew. Nope, he wrote songs for her. Every summer, played them on the hill where they first kissed. People thought he was crazy, but I knew better. He wasn't crazy, just in love. Is he still in town? She smiled, slow and sad. Lives out by the river now, in the cabin his father built. Doesn't talk to many, but I think he'd talk to you. He stood, nervous now. Can you give me directions? She reached into her apron, pulled out a notepad, and scribbled something down. Take him this, she said, tearing the page off. He'll know what it means. He looked. On the paper were just 5 words. Porch lights never burn out. They drove in silence again, this time through winding forest roads, until the river appeared. Still, silver in the setting sun. The cabin stood on the edge of it, weathered, timeless. A porch light flickered near the door. That's it, Cam said. He parked. They stepped out. Walked up slowly. Knocked. Nothing. He knocked again. Then the door creaked open. A man appeared. Older now. Beard graying. Eyes cautious. You boys lost. He stepped forward. No, I think we're right where we need to be. Peter studied him. Then his face changed. He squinted. Wait a minute. He said nothing, just handed him the paper. Peter read it. Eyes widened. Voice cracked. Who gave you this? Deb. Peter sat down slowly on the porch chair, put his face in his hands. She's gone, isn't she? He nodded. Peter didn't move for a long moment, then looked up. I waited 45 years. Cam whispered. She waited too. She just didn't know how to come back. Peter chuckled softly. Neither did I. He pointed to a wooden chest beside the door. That box has every letter I wrote her. He blinked. You wrote her? Every summer. Never mailed them. Didn't know where. But I never stopped writing. He sat down next to Peter. She wrote too. Every year. Peter turned, eyes glistening. You serious? He nodded. We found her journal. She mentioned you. Said she regretted leaving without goodbye. Peter stared at the sky, then whispered, she used to hum when she missed me. Said it made the silence less heavy. Cam broke the silence. You still play? Peter stood slowly, walked inside, returned with a guitar, worn wood, faded strings, but still whole. He strummed softly, then played a chord. It was the same song from the video. Summer song. Peter began to sing. His voice, older, rough, but filled with memory. If the sky forgets to rain, and my name fades in the crowd, I'll still wait beneath the porch light, hoping you come back around. He stopped halfway, couldn't finish. The man placed a hand on his shoulder. I'll finish it for you, and he did. Voice shaking, but strong. Cam leaned against the railing, eyes closed. No one said anything when the last note faded. They just sat, letting the wind carry the silence. Then Peter stood. Come with me. He followed him down the path behind the cabin, to the hill by the river, overlooking the train tracks. There was an old wooden bench, faded initials carved in it. Men plus peace. Peter pointed. That's where I asked her to stay. The man nodded. Peter sat down. You know what hurts the most? I never stopped believing she'd come back. Every year I left the porch light on. Even when the power went out, I lit a lantern. He sat beside him. She saw it. In the end she saw it. Peter smiled, tears in his eyes. That's all I ever wanted. They sat there until stars appeared. Then he opened the journal again. Read a final note, dated 2 weeks before she passed. Asterisk. I wonder if Peter still waits. If he's still out there, humming. If he ever knew I was scared, not ungrateful. If he ever forgave me for the goodbye I never gave. I hope one day my grandson finds this and tells him the truth. That I never forgot, that I always loved him, and that he was the only boy who ever saw me fully. Porch light. And all. Peter read it, then hugged the journal to his chest. I forgive her, he whispered. I always did. The man stood. I'll come visit again. I want to learn the song properly. Peter smiled through tears. You already know it. You just don't know you know it yet. That night, Cam looked up from his sleeping bag in the back of the cabin. You think she hears us? His cousin nodded. I think she never stopped listening. Cam rolled over, whispered, do porch lights shine in heaven? He closed his eyes. I think that's where they shine brightest. You sure this'll work? I think it has to. He tightened the cable into the old speaker. The small community center buzzed with murmurs. Neighbors, old family friends, a few strangers, and in the center of it all, a single photograph. Maggie, young, smiling, hands mid-clap, eyes half closed, like she was caught mid-laugh. Cam adjusted the mic stand. People came, he whispered. He nodded, slowly. They came for her. The old man, Peter, sat in the front row, guitar on his lap, a folded piece of notebook paper in his pocket. The song lyrics. He hadn't played them in public in 45 years. You think she'd laugh at all this? Cam asked. He smirked. Probably tell us we're being too dramatic. Then the lights dimmed, and he stepped up to the mic. Thank you for coming tonight. A pause. Deep breath. I didn't know my grandmother very well growing up. I thought I did. She lived 5 blocks from us. She came to school plays. She made amazing grilled cheese, and she always smiled. Another pause, longer this time. But I never really knew her. Murmurs. Stillness. Not until after she passed did I find her journal, and in it I discovered the summer she never spoke of, the boy she left behind, the porch light she never stopped remembering. He looked at Peter. Tonight, that boy is here, gasps from the crowd. And tonight we're going to sing the song they wrote together, for the first time in nearly 50 years. He nodded. Cam dimmed the lights further, and Peter began to play. A single chord, warm, unshaken by time. Then another, Then the first verse, he sang with him, two voices, old and young, woven through time. If the road forgets my name, and the world forgets my face, let the porch light find me home again. In her arms, in that old place, people in the crowd wiped their eyes. Some closed them, letting the melody carry them somewhere soft, distant, familiar. A memory they'd never lived, but somehow recognized. They reached the bridge. If goodbye was all I said, no, I never meant to run. I was scared, and I was broken. But you were the one. As the final note rang out, silence fell. Thick, not heavy, but reverent. Peter stood slowly, held the guitar close. I waited for her, most of my life, and I'd do it all over again, if it meant singing with her one more time. The crowd stood. Applause, tears, a few smiles breaking through. After the event, an older woman approached, cane in hand, eyes sharp despite the wrinkles. "Excuse me," she said. He turned. "Yes, ma'am, you're Margaret's grandson." He nodded. "I am." She smiled faintly. "You should come with me." Her apartment smelled of rosewood and peppermint. She moved slowly, but deliberately. In the living room sat an old box, tied with red ribbon. She placed it on the table. "Your grandmother left this with me 30 years ago." His eyebrows raised. "She told me, if he ever comes back, and he's not alone, give him this." I never knew what it meant, until tonight. He untied the ribbon. Inside were tapes, letters, photographs, drawings, and a single envelope on top. His name on the front. His name, shaking. He opened it. "My sweet boy, if you're reading this, then I know you finally listened to the quiet voice that called you back to where I began. I left pieces of myself all over this world, in old songs, in forgotten towns, in people I loved deeply but failed to tell in time. This box is everything I couldn't say aloud, because I didn't want to taint your image of me. But maybe it's time you saw all of me. Love is messy. Regret is heavier than grief. And silence, my darling, silence is the thief of time. Forgive me for not teaching you sooner. You have your father's strength, your mother's kindness, but you carry my fire. Don't let it smolder, let it burn, let it lead. The porch light is on. Love, Grandma." His hands trembled. Cam stood quietly nearby, wiping a tear. They went through the box together. A drawing of a girl under a tree, a mixtape labeled for the train ride. I never took. A letter never sent addressed to Peter. And at the bottom, a folded newspaper clipping. He opened it. It was a wedding announcement, but not hers. Peter's, dated 1992. He turned to Peter. "You got married." Peter stared at the clipping, soft smile on his lips. "I did." "What happened?" "She passed 10 years ago. Cancer." "I'm sorry." She knew about Maggie. "Oh, I still wrote songs every summer, and she didn't mind." Peter laughed quietly. She said, "A man's heart is a house with many rooms. I'll dust the ones you leave closed, but I won't lock you out of any." Cam whispered, "She sounds incredible." She was. Peter looked out the window. I think she and Maggie would have gotten along. That night, they sat on the roof. Sky above, city below. Cam nudged him. "You okay?" "I think so." Silence. Then he added, "I used to think knowing less was easier. Now I know better." Cam smiled. "Yeah, knowing hurts, but it also heals." He looked at the stars. She was more than a grandmother. She was a whole world, and I missed it. "You didn't miss it. You just found the map late." He nodded, then looked at the box again. "What do I do with all this?" Cam shrugged. "Share it. Play the song. Tell her story. Make sure the light she left behind doesn't go out. He stared into the night. I will, Cam grinned. And I'll be your backup singer. He chuckled. I thought you hated long drives. Cam smirked. Yeah, but I love good stories. They clinked soda cans together and sat in the quiet, where the only sound was the soft echo of a memory and the rustle of a fire that refused to go out. Are you sure you want to do this live? Cam adjusted the microphone in the small radio studio. Peter nodded slowly, fingers tracing the guitar strings. It's time. The DJ, a young woman with bright eyes and a warm smile, nodded. We'll start with your story. Then the song. Peter took a deep breath. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we share a story about love, loss, and the lights we leave behind. A story about a young woman named Maggie, who left too soon, and a man who waited for her for nearly 50 years. Tonight, we bring you summer songs, written in silence, sung across time. Peter's fingers moved over the strings with familiarity and tenderness. His voice cracked at first, then grew steady. If the sky forgets to rain, and my name fades in the crowd, I'll still wait beneath the porch light, hoping you come back around. Listeners called in, voices quiet, emotional. A woman from a nearby town said, "My grandmother knew Maggie. She said she was the bravest person she ever met." An older man shared, "I played music with Peter back in the day. Never knew the whole story until now." A young girl whispered, "My grandma always kept the porch light on for her husband. I never understood why. Now I do." After the song, the DJ invited Peter and Cam to share more. "My grandmother left behind stories I never heard. Until I found her journal," Cam said. Peter nodded. "I waited for Maggie for decades. Never stopped hoping." Cam smiled softly. "And now I want to tell her story, so no one else forgets the power of love and forgiveness." Just then, the phone rang. Cam picked it up. "Hello?" A woman's voice, hesitant but clear. "Is this about Maggie Rose?" "Yes," Cam said. "My name's Evelyn." Peter's eyes widened. "I'm Maggie's sister." Silence, then laughter, tears, stories. Evelyn revealed a box she had kept all these years. Letters Maggie had sent, never received, photos from a childhood forgotten, and a final message. "To my family, I never wanted to leave without saying goodbye. I was scared, and I was lost, but my heart was always with you. Forgive me. Love, Maggie." Peter and Cam arranged to meet Evelyn. At last the family could heal. Under the porch light, memories flickered. A light never truly goes out. It only waits for the next story to shine. Chapter 7, Part 1. The reunion beneath the porch light. Are you nervous? I don't know. Cam stood outside the small cafe, clutching a weathered envelope. It's been decades. Maybe, but it's never too late. The door opened. Evelyn stepped out, older now, but her eyes held the same fierce kindness Cam remembered from photos. Peter's waiting inside. They entered. Peter looked up. His face softened. Evelyn approached slowly. "I'm sorry for the years lost," she said. Peter nodded. "No apologies needed. Just glad you're here." They sat, the air thick with words unsaid. "I kept her letters all these years," Evelyn said. "Maybe we can finally understand her," Cam added. Peter pulled a faded letter from his jacket. From Maggie, he read aloud. "If you're reading this, I hope you know I never stopped loving you. Life pulled me in directions I feared to follow, but my heart stayed with you, beneath the porch light." Tears fell. Evelyn reached for Peter's hand. "I always wished for this moment." Cam smiled. "Family isn't perfect, but it's all we have." Peter nodded. We lost time, but we can make the most of now. Peter sighed deeply, looking out the cafe window at the passing cars. Funny how life works. We spend so much time apart, sometimes just because of pride or fear. Evelyn nodded slowly, her fingers tracing the rim of her coffee cup. I guess I was scared too. Scared to face what happened. Scared to open old wounds. Cam watched them quietly, feeling the weight of their unspoken histories filling the small room. Peter finally turned back to Evelyn. Do you remember the last time you saw Maggie? Evelyn swallowed hard. Not clearly. It was years ago. She was upset, distant. We didn't really say goodbye. Peter's eyes softened. She never wanted to leave us without saying goodbye, but she was caught in her own storm. I think she was trying to protect us. Ken leaned forward. Protect you? From what? Evelyn shook her head. From the pain she was carrying. From the mistakes she made. Peter's voice dropped, heavy with regret. She felt alone, abandoned. She thought no one would understand. Silence fell between them. Ken finally spoke. It's strange how sometimes the people closest to us suffer the most, and we don't see it until it's too late. Evelyn nodded, tears welling in her eyes. I wish we could have been there for her. Peter reached into his pocket and pulled out a small folded note. Maggie wrote this the night before she left. She never gave it to anyone. He handed it to Evelyn, who unfolded it carefully. To my family, I'm sorry I didn't stay. I hope one day you'll forgive me. I never wanted to hurt you. I was just lost. Please remember me not for how I left, but for how much I loved you all. Evelyn's voice trembled as she read. She wanted forgiveness. Peter nodded. And maybe it's time we forgive ourselves too. Ken looked at them both. Forgiveness is hard. Pride makes it harder. But love can break through all of that. Peter smiled faintly. I've learned that the hard way. Evelyn wiped her tears, taking a deep breath. What if we tried? What if we tried to be a family again? Peter looked hopeful. I'd like that. Ken smiled. Me too. They sat quietly for a moment, each lost in their own thoughts, but united by a new understanding. Peter finally broke the silence. Tell me, Ken, how did you find all of this? The journal, the tapes. Ken smiled softly. My grandmother's old house was being cleaned out. I found a box in the attic. It was like a time capsule. I didn't expect it to change everything. Evelyn laughed softly. Sometimes the past has a way of catching up to us. Peter nodded. And sometimes it gives us a chance to heal. Ken looked out the window as dusk settled in. The porch light, it's still on. Even after all these years, Evelyn smiled, because some lights are meant to guide us home. Peter reached over, taking both their hands, to family, to forgiveness, to love. They held the moment, the weight of decades lifting just a little. Peter cleared his throat and looked at Evelyn and Cam with a tired but hopeful smile. I want to share something with you both, something I've held on to all these years. Evelyn leaned in, her eyes curious and warm. What is it? Peter reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out an old folded photograph. This was taken the summer Maggie and I wrote that song together. We were just kids. Cam took the photo gently. They looked so happy. Peter nodded. They were, before everything changed. Evelyn traced the edge of the photo with her finger. It's hard to believe how much time has passed. Peter sighed. Sometimes I feel like I'm still waiting for that summer to come back. Cam's voice softened. But you're not alone anymore. Peter looked up, a glimmer of tears in his eyes. I know, and that's what makes all this worth it. Evelyn smiled through her own tears. I want to make a promise that Maggie's memory will live on with us, that her story won't be forgotten. Peter nodded slowly. I want that too, for my children, for your family, for all of us. Cam stood, feeling a sudden surge of determination. We should do something big, to honor her, to bring people together. Peter chuckled softly. You always were the dreamer. Cam grinned. Maybe, but I think it's time to dream together. Evelyn looked at them both, hope shining in her eyes. Like a reunion, a celebration. Peter nodded eagerly. A gathering at the old house, where it all began. Cam's smile grew wider. And we'll invite everyone who knew her, everyone who loved her. Evelyn wiped a tear, even those who never met her. Peter laughed. Exactly, because Maggie's story belongs to all of us now. They spent the next hour planning, their voices weaving through memories and dreams. Days later, the old house buzzed with life. Neighbors, friends, family, some they hadn't seen in years, all gathered. Cam stood at the front porch, the light glowing softly above. Peter strummed his guitar, ready to play the song that started it all. Evelyn greeted guests with warmth and grace. The air was thick with anticipation. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Peter raised his voice. This song is for Maggie, for the love she left behind, for the family she dreamed of. Cam joined in, harmonizing softly. The crowd fell silent, hearts open. If the road forgets my name, and the world forgets my face, let the porch light find me home again. In her arms, in that old place, voices joined in, one by one. The song carried through the evening air, weaving through the crowd like a gentle breeze. Tears mingled with smiles. Old wounds softened. New memories were born. Later, as the night deepened, Peter and Evelyn sat side by side on the porch steps. I never thought I'd see this day, Peter said softly. Neither did I, Evelyn replied. But it's more beautiful than I imagined. Peter looked at the glowing porch light. It's a promise that no matter how far we go or how long we wait, we can always find our way back. Evelyn smiled. And sometimes it takes getting lost to truly appreciate home. Cam joined them, holding 2 cups of tea. To family, he said, handing them each a cup. To forgiveness, Peter added. To love, Evelyn finished. They clinked their cups gently, a silent vow passing between them. Weeks later, Cam sat in his room, holding Maggie's journal. He read the last entry aloud softly. Sometimes love is found, not in the moments we share, but in the moments we finally understand. He closed the journal, a peaceful smile on his face. The porch light outside flickered gently in the night. A beacon, a guide, a promise kept. Thank you for joining us on this heartfelt journey of love, loss, and healing. Stories like these remind us how precious family truly is, and how sometimes it takes the hardest moments to bring us closer. If you found this story moving and want to explore more deep, emotional histories and untold stories that touch the soul, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. There's so much more waiting to be uncovered, and we'd love to have you with us every step of the way. Until next time, keep your porch light shining bright.